Welcome in to Check the Mic. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, live on YouTube. And it's Wednesday, but because it's Thanksgiving week, Sam, it's time for our Week 13 NFL preview. How you doing?
Doing all right, Steve. Even though we seem to have broken the camera somehow that gives you my solo shot. So
I'm getting hooked up too here.
That's going to look a little weird today.
Yeah, we messed up.
See?
Here it is.
Now, this is a lot better than it looked when we walked in the room, but it's still bad. So forgive us. My shot is going to look with some very weird lighting today for reasons that we don't know.
Now, something happened. This could be unrelated, but I did walk around the camera, kicked the plug by accident, tripped over it.
Yeah.
And then this happened.
Look, nobody would like to blame this on you more than me, but in this particular instance, I don't think it's your fault. I believe that's coincidental.
Well, it's one of the nicest things you've ever said to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we'll bear with us. Could be a wide shot. If you're listening in podcast land, you have no idea what we're talking about.
No.
But by the way, you should probably just join the YouTube and subscribe and watch us too. Do both. If you could get us double the listeners and viewership, it's good. It'd be good for everybody.
Yeah. Lighting has always been the weakness of this of our show at the moment. That's been the one area we seem to have struggled with.
We like to maintain that we are still scratching the surface of professionalism.
Oh, if anything, we're getting further away from the surface.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah,
week to week. So we're also gonna try to, because it's Wednesday, we'll mix in some shouty shows. We'll sprinkle them in. We'll weave them in to the preview. So it's a bit of a combined Wednesday and Thursday show.
Yeah. And then the one other bit of housekeeping is that it turns out that the prison that we're in, it whistles in the wind.
Yeah.
So there's an extra noise in the background.
We did a lot to soundproof the room.
Yeah.
Right? On the interior.
Yeah.
We didn't think.
Well, there's not much we could do about the exterior.
Yeah. Maybe we get a big ladder.
Get Alec on the phone.
I
got some suggestions.
The outdoor windows here. So if you hear any whistling, that's what's going on.
It's the building, not us. Well, it might be us too, but
the glare off Sam's head helps with the lighting. Someone says.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, there's always a bonus.
I mean, the other lighting was rough the other day anyway. This is the other.
I mean, the standard lighting is pretty rough, but this is
the other end of it.
This is lighting, white balance, color, like this. And by the way, this is significantly better than it looked like when we first started. So messing with the settings has gotten it to this level.
Do we just roll with it?
I think we're going to have to, yeah.
So we've got our Week 13 preview and picks. We have a special bonus pick that we're going to go through toward the end of the show. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Do you want to give us a little pick update here?
I do. Where are we? Yeah, okay, the same. So we have 24 stubborn people still remaining in the Survivor League. It was 27 last week. It was 27 the week before that. So Survivor, once you get to this stage, apparently you're able to eke it out for a while. The other league we've got is the Pick'em League. Obviously, these are both sleeper leagues that we have running in our Discord. You can find the links to that in the description, et cetera, et cetera. I remarked that I kind of hoped that the guy whose name was Maxwell81798 didn't win because his name was kind of a pain in the ass to say. So he very kindly changed his name to make it easier to say. So now Sam Monson Smells is now top solo with 111 wins. Unfortunately, he's now 6 clear of the pack, so
You have to keep saying that every week.
I may have poked the wrong wasp's nest with that one.
That's great.
He's first by quite some distance now. I have 98 wins, which is now tied for 14th. You have 83, so 15 back from me.
He's coming off a great week and then fell apart.
Yeah.
Oh, just to clarify, what happened was.
And Harry has 80 wins, 3 back from you.
Why are you going to insult my son like this?
I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm
Finishing
the roundup.
Facts are facts.
Yes.
I found out that the picks that I give you on the show sometimes don't make it into the Sleeper app, which is why one of the reasons why my numbers are so low.
When you say sometimes, you have identified one instance of this happening.
Like last week in particular, I had 3 games that I picked correctly on the show. I was like, yeah, this is right, and I just didn't put the picks in.
Correct, but you've now, having seen this as a flaw, you've now extrapolated this as like a season-long problem, as opposed to this has happened one time that we know of, and therefore it must have happened several times over.
Probably costing me 3 games a week.
Yeah.
It's probably.
I suspect it's not. And that you just happened to not do it last time?
Picks are stupid again.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else at the top here? Housekeeping? Of course, no other shows this weekend. You never know when we could go live.
Correct.
Right? If
as of now, there's no plan to go live in reaction to Thanksgiving games, but who knows? Crazy things could happen, and we're both lunatics, so.
Yeah, you never know.
Though I guess the last thing, hit the subscribe button. We're at 69,300. Let's get to 70,000. That's a marker I've seen people chase. Obviously, we have bigger aspirations than that. We want our play button. We already had a play button. We earned it, and someone else has it. So we would like it for this channel, and we need 100,000 for that. So hit subscribe if you're not already. We appreciate all of you.
And then 70. You can't get to 100 until you get to 70 first.
You can't. No.
So that's the goal.
That's
How
true.
about by Monday? We get to 70,000 by Monday. By Monday morning show. All right, it's week 13. It's Thanksgiving. A beautiful NFL tradition. Do you have before we get into Packers, Lions, favorite Thanksgiving football memory?
No.
All right. It's not Randy Moss?
Sure. Let's throw that out there.
Where were you for the Randy Moss game?
I don't know.
I was at my house. We always hosted. We had the other side of the family was over, and watching Randy Moss dominate.
You have
the
to
Cowboys
remember,
back in '98.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that for the Europeans, it's just Thursday.
It's just a Thursday. Yeah, I get it. I understand. So it doesn't mean anything. But you're almost American now.
Right. Well, yeah. My wife is.
Congrats to Laura.
Yeah.
I mean, she's gonna love it tomorrow.
She's officially
very American.
I tried to make it sound like I figured that now that you are American, it feels like you should be cooking the Thanksgiving meal.
How'd that go over?
I'm not American. Well, she was like, no, because it's my first year as an American, I should be the guest. Somebody should be making me a Thanksgiving meal. Yeah. So either way,
so you're
I
back
end up
cooking.
cooking it.
All right, it all starts at 1 o'clock, non-traditional start time, normally 12:30. I don't know when the NFL changed this. Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. The Lions favored by 2.5 here. The 7-3-1 Packers and the 7-4 Lions. Of course, a rematch from Week 1 when the Packers whooped up on the Lions. Yeah, right? They beat them pretty bad. Micah Parsons' first game, dominant. We were all asking questions. Miss Ben Johnson, what's going on in Detroit? Micah Parsons bringing the Packers to the Super Bowl. Lots happened since
then. Is the
then.
line a wreck? Was Ben Johnson leaving, crippling, like all those questions?
It's interesting, though. The line is still a question for the Detroit Lions. Our friend Dan Orlovsky, even in the Twitter sphere this week, saying Lions can't pass protect. And he's going through these offensive lines that he trusts and doesn't trust, and he's not in trust mode for the Detroit Lions. And I think there's some truth there, with especially on the interior and some of the injuries that they've had. A tackle, Taylor Decker, being in and out of the lineup at various points.
Yeah.
But there's some truth there. And then you add in the way the Packers have used Micah Parsons differently than Myles Garrett is used or T.J. Watt is used. He is moving all around the defensive front. And I think that is one of the key matchups to take a look at on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think they're doing two different things with Micah Parsons with all that moving around. I think they're trying to free him up. Like, I don't think this is a case of let's just use him to target individual. I think they're specifically moving around to try and get him some free looks or some one-on-one looks, the way certain other teams don't bother, and they just sort of they work the double team into the equation. Well, if he's double teamed, someone else is free, and that's a net win. I think the Packers are specifically trying to get him away from as many double teams as humanly possible. But then I think they're also trying to do the other version of that, which is when we move him around, when we get certain looks, we know that this is going to happen, and therefore these other guys are freed up. So I think they're kind of working both sides of the Micah Parsons edge, which is smart. Let's use the destructive force that he brings, and let's try and help other people as much as possible as well.
In the Week 1 game, I thought we saw it's been an interesting year for Jared Goff and the Detroit Lions. There's been a few games where I think he's just looked completely off. And in those other games, man, it's like it's almost like the way I used to describe Stafford, actually. Not so much Goff, but like the offense. When Goff is feeling it and the play calling is feeling it. And this year it seems to be against some of the lesser teams. But when it's on, the Lions' offense is a thing of beauty, right? It's like there's speed everywhere. They're missing Sam Laporta in the middle of the field, but you just see fast players in space all day. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, with his 10 to 12 catches and getting open and converting third downs. There's been a few of those games where Goff has had the high-end production, and then a couple games where it was just really difficult, right, to even the first game, it wasn't that they weren't completing passes. I mean, he was 31 for 39, but it went to nowhere, 5.8 yards per attempt. So they were just struggling, a couple turnover-worthy plays in there from Goff, playing from behind for much of the game. Then you have 2 weeks ago, Goff against the Eagles, where you have that defensive front getting after him. You have the back end really creating tight window throws and breaking on passes and just making life difficult for this Lions offense. And Goff goes 14 of 37. Now, those are both road games. They're back in the dome. They're usually more comfortable there from an offensive perspective. But my point here is, like, we've seen the high-end Goff and Lions offenses. We've also seen a couple of the low-end games, and they've come against some of the better teams in the NFC, the Packers and the Eagles 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and teams that can cause problems along that offensive line. And that, that those things tend to be, once you can reach a level of exposing a problem, then obviously the problem is there. Like we saw week one, that's an extreme version, I think, but we saw week one, this offensive line can be torn to ribbons by this defensive line. And this might be the type of game that they can really cause issues with. Lucas Van Ness has been injured for a chunk of the season. He was supposed to come back last week, and Packers fans were pretty excited about him. He looked like he'd maybe turned a corner this year, and this was the season he was going to break out, former first-round draft pick. He did come back last week. He played just 6 snaps and didn't do anything. In fact, didn't look healthy at all. And Matt LaFleur has sort of come out afterwards and said he didn't suffer a setback as much as he just wasn't ready to go, and they put him out there anyway. Like they thought he was further along than he was. And when they tried to play him in a football game, it's like, maybe he's really not ready yet. I guess if he played 6 snaps last week, he'll probably play again in some capacity this week, but he doesn't look like the savior of, let's add some real juice to that defensive line with his return, at least not until he shows he's healthy.
This is also a battle of per next-gen stats, the NFL Pro. Micah Parsons and Aiden Hutchinson both tied for the league lead with 60 pressures per their numbers. So you've got Parsons on one side, you've got Hutch on the other side for the Lions. Lions defense, a little hit or miss this year as well. They'll create a little bit of pressure. They've had a lot of injuries on the back end, especially mostly in the secondary, but especially at safety. And then the other piece here, Jordan Love, I think that offense has definitely looked different with Christian Watson in there.
Yeah.
This week to week, who's the number one, who's the guy. It does seem like that offense works better when Christian Watson's making plays. And it's not all the downfield plays that it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago for him, but it's mostly vertical, right? It's like deep outs. They get the ball outside the numbers to Watson, and he is their best big play threat. And same thing, like when Matthew Golden is out there and healthy, I think he's shown flashes of those big plays, even though the fantasy community is upset he doesn't have any touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he's shown flashes of those big plays. So the Packers, I feel like that offense is inconsistent but close. Inconsistent but have the pieces. When they have all those pieces together, I think it'll help quite a bit.
And his return, like he has been a better player since his return. Like Christian Watson, for most of his career, he's been this kind of inconsistent, big play threat where sometimes he'll make a play, sometimes he won't. It's like there's this sort of frustrating lack of efficiency. But actually, he's been remarkably consistent since he's come back and has been making big plays left and right and just been way more consistent. And whatever about like that receiving core, who's the number one, doesn't really matter. He does bring something different to everybody else there. Like that size-speed combination, it's something you have to respect at all times. It's why even these wildly inconsistent deep threats, as long as there's a threat of that, it's something you have to think about every single play.
Last thing I just wanted to touch on, we have to touch on Jahmyr Gibbs. And by the way, Golden is questionable. And my general preface here on all of these games, doing the show on Wednesday, we don't have injury reports for any of the games beyond Thursday. So it'll be a little touch and go for us when it comes to injury predictions or who's playing or who's not or who's questionable. These games we at least have some injury reports because they're on Thursday. So Golden has been limited at practice to this point. But Jahmyr Gibbs and what he has done for the Lions, almost single-handedly making sure that the Lions won last week, averaging over 6 yards per carry. And what a run for Gibbs. It's going back to the Tampa Bay game, 8 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns. Then he kind of gets shut down against Minnesota, 2.8. Then he's back at 9.5 against Washington. Gets shut down a little bit by Philadelphia, 3.3. And then last week, 14.6 yards per carry with the overtime touchdown of 69 yards. So on the season, he's at 6.1. but there's like a little bit of this Saquon Barkley-esque boom or bust to Gibbs' game right now, where there's even games where he's going for 2 and 3 yards a pop, but then there's games where it's like this dude creates big plays out of nowhere. So when we wake up Friday morning on Black Friday and we say, hey, the Lions won this game, it could completely come down to whether or not Gibbs was able to break 1 or 2 of those big runs.
Yeah, I haven't checked, actually. I'd love to know how many of his sort of conventional breakaway runs, the 15 or more yard ones, how many of those become 50 like Saquon last year? That's the thing that he brings to the table. You saw that last week. Yes.
I'll have to look up that stat, by the way. Gibbs might have a huge chunk of the NFL's 50-plus yard runs this year.
Yeah, it's like getting him to the second level, like blocking those plays up really well is great. It's gonna lead to an explosive play. But, the sort of standard conventional recording of explosive runs is 15 yards. So you might get a lot of running backs to 15 yards with some of the blocking that he's had in front of him. But he's turning 15 into 50 in an instant. Like the explosiveness, the acceleration, the burst that he brings to the table is absolutely crazy with some of these runs. He just looks so dangerous.
And so the Packers, not only in the run game, but in the pass game, their ability to tackle in space, safeties, Edgerrin Cooper, those guys are going to be key in this game against Gibbs. Last thing I wanted to mention, 2 years ago, if you remember what happened with Green Bay, it was the first year as starter for Jordan Love. Love went through the first half of the season. I feel like we were trying to figure out what was going on with Love. His first half season as a starter wasn't on the same page with the receivers, didn't really have late game management wasn't great, and then a switch flipped right around this time of the year. We always go back to the Toyota-thon joke in November, but they went into Detroit. I remember the Packers went on a run where they beat Kansas City on Sunday Night Football, and they went into Detroit and beat the Lions, who eventually went to the NFC Championship. And that was when this is right around the time the Packers, with Jordan Love, really turned a corner. Last year, they were a good team, but they couldn't beat the great teams. So if we just take a step back, huge game for Green Bay to say, all right, we've had some duds this year. We've lost some games we probably should not have against the Panthers, against the Browns, but we all offseason we're trying to point to beating the Lions and beating the Eagles and the best teams. They didn't beat Philly a couple weeks ago, but it's a huge one for the Packers to show, okay, we're inconsistent, but we are among the best teams in the NFC. And even though Detroit's not as good as they've been in recent years because of that interior offensive line, I think it is a huge game for Green Bay to prove what they could do. And, of course, the standings and, everything as far as the playoff picture goes. Massive game here at 1 o'clock Thursday. Detroit by 2.5. Where are you going to go with this one?
I'm going to go with Detroit.
I'm going to take the Packers. I'm just going to go opposite you every time, see if I can make a comeback here. I'll take the Packers. I think the pass rush, man. I think the pass rush is a bit of a concern for Detroit now.
Yeah, I mean, I think Detroit. I think the opposite is true though as well. Like Detroit's pass rush is formidable. I think people started to catch on to this recently. That this combination. I mean, Ross Tucker was big on this last week in his commentary thing. Like the combination. Everyone always thought you get 2 edge rushers. If you get 2 edge rushers, you're cooking. And look, the Texans would say that's a pretty good way of doing it as well. But I really think that if you can find one elite edge rusher and pair him with an elite interior rusher and put them on the same side of the line, you cause chaos for offenses because those 2 guys work in tandem and, interior pressure forces a guy directly to the edge rusher who's almost always winning in some way, right? Even if the tackle is clinging on to life and he's just about guiding him past the pocket, if that pocket gets pushed deeper by the interior pressure as well, he's winning. He's getting the sack.
Yep.
So we're seeing that with Myles Garrett. Suddenly the Browns have an interior rush, and Myles Garrett's setting all-time records in terms of sacks. I think like the Lions have that push inside as well now with all those defensive tackles that they've got with the return of a Lynn McNeil, et cetera. So Aiden Hutchinson remains one of the most dominant edge rushers. Now he's got some help up the middle because those guys are back and healthy, and you're seeing the pressure that he can bring to the table.
So I'm taking Green Bay here.
Detroit. I'm taking Detroit.
I'm taking Green Bay. You're taking Detroit. Harry's taking Detroit as well. 4:30 game. It's always Dallas. Kansas City Chiefs at the Dallas Cowboys. Chiefs favored by 3.5 here, coming off their big win in overtime against the Colts. Cowboys coming off their big win, 21-0 comeback against the Philadelphia Eagles. 6-5 Chiefs against the 5-1 Cowboys. It's a massive Thanksgiving game here. Kansas City, the season was on the ropes in the second half last week, fumbling, down 11, and the defense stepped up, made some stops, and the offense made some huge plays. So Kansas City coming off of what I called kind of a throwback Chiefs win, right? Defense made key stops. Mahomes made a bunch of key plays in crunch time. Chiefs win in overtime. And then Dallas now, 2 weeks of since the Marshawn Kneeland tragedy, since adding Quinnen Williams, Malik Hooker, Demarion Overshown, a bunch of players coming back from injury. They've looked a little bit better, and this offense has been really good this entire season. What a matchup this is, Chiefs and Cowboys. And for Dallas, in the middle of this massive test where they have the Eagles last week, Chiefs now, Lions next week on Thursday night, to see if they can actually get back into the playoff picture here.
Yeah, it's a big game for both teams. It's the type of game where if you do want to be taken seriously as a contender, as a team that can win the Super Bowl, you kind of need to win it. It's the classic cliche. It's like a litmus test game for both teams. I think obviously you feel better about Kansas City's results in that litmus test because they've been there, they've done that. They're, the defending AFC champions, etc. But as you said, their season's been on the ropes. They're still not in great standing relative to the rest of the AFC. Like they can't afford to lose too many games down the stretch. Whereas Dallas is like their season was basically dead. Now it's kind of resuscitated to a degree. But if you lose here, it's another, now you're back below 500 again. You're sort of back in the hole. So yeah, it's a big game for both teams.
So it feels like a big game and a couple of good teams. You know what really is though? It's a battle of the two number 10 seeds in each conference. The Chiefs are number 10 in the AFC, and the Cowboys are number 10. One of the schematic matchups that I think is fascinating here is the Cowboys wide receivers, George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And, CeeDee Lamb's coming off of a rough game against Philly for the second straight time. He's had a bunch of drops and key plays maybe that he's left on the table, whereas George Pickens is playing so well that people are like, is he worth $40 million? Are you going to have Pickens and Lamb for the foreseeable future? Is Pickens not just a true number one, but is he a top 3 receiver in the NFL? And he's playing like that this year. But they're almost built, the Cowboys, opposite of what we keep saying the Bills are built like, right? We've described the Bills, and you said this specifically. The Bills are almost built to beat this Chiefs defense, which is yak players, the Khalil Shakirs, the Dalton Kincaids of the world. They attack the middle of the field. Spags in this defense, they like to play a lot of one-on-one on the outside, and it creates a lot of low percentage plays on the outside. And again, Spags, you generally have to get rid of the ball quickly, get the ball into your playmakers, and exploit, say, the linebackers as much as possible. Well, Dallas is built completely differently, right? This offense is cooking when George Pickens is making big plays, and CeeDee Lamb, you can move him around. He might, play in the slot and play the space game, but they're kind of built differently than Buffalo in this game. So it's, Spags and the defense create lower percentage opportunities, and I think that's what this game comes down to. Can Dak hit those outside receivers on a few big plays in this one? And if they do, I think they've got a chance to compete here against the Chiefs.
Yeah, Pickens is really having an incredible season. There was that stat Field Yates put out there where he's basically got almost the same yardage as the entire Pittsburgh wide receiver room combined this year. And remember that, they have DK Metcalf. It's not like they have nobody once they traded away George Pickens. They traded him away and effectively replaced him with DK Metcalf, the way that ended up working. And Pickens on his own has almost, not quite, I think he's 50 yards short or whatever of the combined total of the entire Pittsburgh receiver room. But his production is insane. His superpower for his entire career has always been those contested catches. And the problem with that is it's just a volatile, iffy number. Even the best guys in the world are, if they're able to continually be above 50% in catch rate, that's impressive. Pickens this year on those contested targets is up at like 65%, which is, it's unsustainably high, but it's crazy high. The point is we're seeing the high watermark of what Pickens is capable of right now. Plus, they're getting him involved in more run after the catch stuff. It's like, hey, this guy He's a better athlete than we're giving him credit for. Let's put the ball in his hands. Let's just let him catch and run. Let's give him a slant every now and again. Let's see what happens. And it turns out he can break tackles as well if you do that. So Pickens is just absolutely cooking. You pair that with CeeDee Lamb, and you do have this incredible 1-2 punch. That's freeing up space. Javonte Williams is able to run underneath. They've got good receiving weapons elsewhere in Jake Ferguson at tight end. Kevontae Turpin, when he's not falling flat in his face randomly from the backfield, is a dynamic, difficult-to-stop player. This Dallas offense is absolutely cooking, and it didn't matter. They were like the last year's Bengals early in the season because the defense was historically terrible, and it's like the offense can be the best offense in the NFL, and with a defense that bad, they're still in a 50-50 shootout every single week. Well, now the defense is better than that. It might not be good, but it's gotten good enough that the offense can win games for them, not just, get into a coin flip situation. So that, I think, is where the Cowboys are now. The defense has gotten parity with teams.
While we're talking receivers, right, it said we're going to weave in the shouty shows. We got some shouty show talking Cowboys receivers here.
How about them Cowboys? The Dallas Cowboys now have a new number one receiver, and his name is George Pickens.
Sure.
George Pickens took over the football game yesterday. CeeDee Lamb, he went, Mary had a little lamb on me again when I least expected it. He's choking his guts out. I thought he was the best receiver in football. But George Pickens, who has changed my life and life in Cowboy Nation, kept saying, no, not in my new house. And we're back in the saddle.
Right.
And in the end, my biggest takeaway is bring on the Chiefs, man.
I'm sitting here. I don't know if that's common from Skip. I'm not really familiar with his work on a day-to-day basis. But as this was happening, I'm like, he's got some sort of lamb pun. And in my head, I'm like, it's got to be Mary had a little lamb. And then he just dropped it out. That's why I got so excited. This is George Pickens, who changed Skip's life. And Mary had a little lamb.
Yeah.
Pickens is the new number one.
I don't have the energy for this roller coaster of like reactionary. What's the thing? How extreme could I take this individual week's performance, knowing that next week I'll have to swing all the way back in the opposite
Lamb
direction?
Is Mary. Mary had a little lamb.
CeeDee Lamb choked.
Useless.
George Pickens is the best receiver in the NFL now. Like what? Why? I mean,
Now,
if
if you really wanted to stay consistent, which we're not trying.
Of course, he doesn't. Yeah.
Could you imagine? Just picture this for a moment. Imagine Cooper Rush throwing to George Pickens. Imagine where the production would be because he likes Cooper
Rush.
Because we've heard Skip say that he trusts Cooper Rush more than he trusts Dak. Could you imagine a winner like Cooper Rush, who Skip trusts, throwing to the new number one George Pickens?
It's just it's the insincere, disingenuous, like manipulative nature of the analysis. Like Mike Vrabel got into it about, Stephen A. Smith and First Take over this whole Drake May ridiculousness and Cam Newton. He's like, I can't believe that show is the number one show. And I agree. Like I mean, it doesn't make any sense until you pair it with the thing we talked about the other day, like the orange juice thing, like 30% of people can't even look at a glass of orange juice and understand that it's the same volume of liquid that it was 3 seconds ago when you watched it get pour from a different glass. That's who the show is for, like for the people who aren't really thinking about anything. And that, like, so this whole, it's just like, this is silly. Like, yeah, George Pickens having a better season than CeeDee Lamb right now. That's pretty obvious. Like, that's not breaking news. But to be like, that means that he's a better player. Outright, because every other element of knowledge, there is no other context that can be brought to the table. So everything else out the window, he is better. End of story. And then when the reverse happens, when Pickens has a rough game and the ball doesn't go his way and CeeDee Lamb goes off for a game that he's due, well, then I'll just have to flip 180 and go, in a completely opposite direction. It's just, it's obnoxious.
Anyway, I think it's funny. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Pickens has been great this year. He's played better than CeeDee Lamb. I think in this game, though, Pickens is the type of receiver. He'll get, he'll have to make some plays, but I think CeeDee Lamb has a chance to make a lot of plays. And, Brian Schottenheimer, they were asking him on Monday, and he just said, Lamb's got that look in his eye, like he wants to get back to this, whatever that is. And we don't have time to talk about this, but interesting couple weeks here for Schotty, who was we spent the offseason saying the Cowboys targeted him. No one else targeted him as the head coach. We're very objective, and we're like, I don't know. We have no idea if he's going to be a good head coach or not. It was a rough start to the season, but it was all on the defensive side of the ball. He's an offensive guy, and if he can keep Dallas together here, get through a Chiefs game, win one of the next two, right? Chiefs and Lions, give themselves an opportunity. I know they're sitting there at the 10 seed. There's a lot to overcome, but they might be able to make a run here, and I like the way they're trending. I think the other side of the ball, though, even though the defense has been better, Quinn and Williams coming in, and I think it's going to be a challenge against this Kansas City offense. The Chiefs are missing Trey Smith, their right guard.
It's a big loss.
They could be a factor here with the way the Cowboys have built with Kenny Clark, with Quinn and Williams, with Osa Odigizua on the interior. They struggled to get pressure last week against the Eagles outside of a couple plays. I think they're going to have to do a better job getting pressure, but Kansas City's offensive line has been really good. And the offense, once again, for the Chiefs, when they've played, I think the elite or like the high-end pass defenses, or what Buffalo's able to do, what the Broncos are able to do, they've had some struggles. But when they face, like, the Colts aren't great from a pass defense perspective, the Cowboys aren't great from a pass defense perspective, I think the Chiefs are going to have some success here.
Yeah. The other thing, it always feels weird bringing this up, but we have no idea what effect the Marshawn Nealon tragedy is having with his team, and will continue to happen, or will continue to have throughout the rest of the season. It feels weird bringing it up because it's like, it almost feels wrong to talk about that in the context of just, a football game that we're all analyzing. But I think it would be crazy to act like that isn't going to have reverberations throughout the rest of the season. So, and maybe it has more of an impact on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side, just because of the fact that he would have been closer to those guys. But so far, this Dallas team has reacted well to that, I would say. Like, if it's had any kind of emotional impact, it seems to have galvanized them, and they're playing hard and they're not quitting when they could have. Like, they could have tapped out of that game against Philadelphia and been like, we're 21-0 down, we're getting wrecked by a division opponent. No mas, let's go home, let's, reset. Instead, they fought back and they got the comeback win. If that has had a galvanizing effect on this team, they might be mentally tougher than they were earlier in the season. And, maybe it is a thing that's going to help them continue to fight and continue to stay in these games.
All right, over-unders 51.5. Vegas expecting some level of shootout. By the way, the Packers-Lions is 49.5. Thursday nights, 51.5. And they're expecting a lot of points on Thanksgiving. It's the three highest totals are all on Thanksgiving, by the way, for this week. So the man in Vegas expecting a lot of points here. Chiefs favored by 3.5. Where are you going to go with this one?
I'm going to go with Kansas City to win and cover on the road.
I'm going to stick with opposites. I'll go Dallas. Home dogs here. Taking the Cowboys. Harry's going to take the Chiefs to cover the 3.5. Appreciate Skip Bayless helping with our breakdown of the Chiefs and Cowboys.
I will never appreciate Skip Bayless.
He creates content for us. Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, it's the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore favored by 7. Over under here, as I said, 51.5. Joe Burrow is back for the Bengals. T. Higgins out with a concussion. I believe Kyle Hamilton might be out for the Ravens. That's less defined, but it's more people trying to read into John Harbaugh's comments about whether or not he'll be able to come back for Thursday. Jamar Chase back from his one-game suspension. But Burrow back, and turns it into a pretty fun game here, I would say. Bengals and Ravens. Ravens by 7 Thursday night.
Chase.
Chris Collinsworth out, by the way.
I saw.
NBC game where Chris gets Thanksgiving
Gets
off.
the week off. Well, because he hit 500, so he can take a break now.
Yeah. You're going to wait till Sunday for 501.
I saw one of those, news sites that just clickbaity deal. And they're like, Collinsworth out for, blah, 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 big game. And you're like, yeah, he's just giving the week off. Not like it's not like they fired him or anything. I bring concerning tidings surrounding Joe Burrow. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, first of all, fair play to Jamar Chase, who came out and kind of owned the spitting thing afterwards. Like, remember, first of all, he'd been like, nah, I didn't spit on him. What are you talking about? And then it's like, it turns out there's video of you spitting on him. It's pretty obvious. It's fairly unarguable. So he got his one-game suspension, but he since came out and said, I was totally in the wrong. You should never do that to somebody, blah, blah, blah. So, fair play to him for at least owning that after the fact and trying to apologize or whatever. Now, I was contacted this morning by our guy, our medical insider, Vic Troja.
Beautiful.
From the Boo Boo Breakdown, who people may remember back on the show when that was a thing. He says he's had a lot of people asking him if Joe Burrow returning is a good idea, aside from the fact the Bengals defense is, atrocious. He says there is a significantly higher risk of injury recurrence for somebody returning from turf toe that required operative treatment, i.e. surgery, versus the people that did not get surgery. Apparently, basically, a study on this from NFL players showed basically everybody that came back from turf toe who didn't get surgery, they're good to go. Like, you actually think about that as that's a worrying injury. But basically, if you come back and you didn't need the surgery, you're fine. However, if you did have the surgery, there is a 20% chance of re-injury, which is massive.
Interesting.
The idea
Brock
being
Purdy, no surgery, less re-injury occurrence.
Yeah, the idea being that, number one, if you have the surgery, it's a worse injury to begin with, right? So that's part of it. And then the other part of it being a turf toe and the plantar, blah, blah, blah. It's such a painful injury that you don't screw around with it if you're not healthy, Like, it's so bad that they don't come back until they're fully 100% healthy. So all the feels, this is great. Burrow's back. The season's technically still alive. If we beat Baltimore here, maybe we can do some damage late in the year and actually just a 20% chance this is the problem.
The re-injury sitting here in week 13, the re-injury has no effect on next season, right?
No, it would just shut them down for the rest of this year.
Yeah.
I bring this up.
Which matters less because you are kind of in do or die time.
Yeah, I bring this up for a couple of reasons. Number one, because, there's a 20% chance he hurts himself here. Number two, because there's that Chargers fan who, whinges that I only focus on Justin Herbert's capacity for injury. I mean, if, this is another injury that Burrow's racked up in his career, would be another re-injury. Like, Burrow would be racking up the made of glass, brittle injury list of things as a quarterback at this point if he gets re-injured after this.
I didn't listen to Burrow's answer as to why he's playing, but I was going to give my opinion on that anyway. I mean, because a lot of people think of this like, well, your season's over, like, what's the point? And it's like, I don't know, you're just the quarterback of the team. You're being paid to play, and even though the season's hanging by a thread.
Well, that's the thing. That's the other element. It isn't
just go play.
It isn't actually dead yet.
It's not actually dead, right?
Yeah.
So they are 3-8, and theoretically, if they win, I think their only chance is to win out.
Right.
They would need 1,000 things to happen anyway. If they lose, I don't think any AFC team's getting it at 8 and 9, right? Because you already have a bunch of teams already at 6 and 5. That would be historic collapses for like 5 teams. So theoretically,
but it's no less likely to happen than it was last year when they were going on the run and they needed one game right at the end to go their way in order to make the playoffs.
But then even if Bengals lose this week and Burrow looks fine, it's not like, all right, shut him down, season's over. Like, he's just the quarterback. Like, you just go play football when you're ready to play football. And so I think that's what's going to happen. This game is easy to pick though, because it's the AFC North. It's a Thursday game.
Yeah.
Prime time.
And
home
team always wins.
Home team always wins.
Okay.
We were reminded in the chat, and I missed this. One of my bad picks this year. Pick in Pittsburgh on the road. One of them.
Rare bad pick.
That's what screwed up all my picks. Is not taking the Bengals at home on a Thursday night game in the division against Pittsburgh, where now the spread, it's 7. Right?
Yeah.
So we're just talking wins and losses here. Spread's 7.
I feel like the most likely thing to happen in this game is Baltimore wins, but Cincinnati covers.
Yeah. I mean, that could still happen. But Baltimore, given the history of the AFC North road games, Baltimore definitely going to win here. We know that's going to happen.
Okay.
No, I'm excited to see Burrow back. And look, I think interesting dynamic with Flacco. I mean, the Burrow discourse is fascinating. He's had the injury issues. There's like a weird disconnect with there's some analytics people and some film people who have never been fully in on Burrow. And then, social media, it's not even doom scrolling in my world. It's more like football scrolling. Like, I get all these football takes sent to me through social media. There was some sort of like mock video of the one Super Bowl run that Burrow went on. Remember, he got sacked like 7 times per game and the defense was great. I mean, there's some people who just think he's okay. pretty good quarterback, and some people that are like, of course he's clear in the top 4 with Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar. And I'm like, I think he's in the top 4.
I mean, just be thankful that Joe Flacco, one of the last things he did is throw a ridiculous pick 6, that looked like classic. Oh, that's a rookie mistake, as we said. Like if Flacco had actually just played out of his mind for this entire stretch, and then Joe Burrow comes back, maybe not 100% with his toe injury, does not immediately light it up, like without T. Higgins in the lineup, maybe Burrow doesn't have a great game. There would be discourse. There would be people going, maybe Burrow's not even any better than Joe Flacco. And that's madness.
And so, right, I mean, there were a couple high-end games from Flacco, right? They put up 33 against the Steelers and won. They put up 38 against the Jets, and really the defense blew that game. They put up 42 against the Bears. There were some high-end games from Flacco. So if you were a Burrow detractor, you were like, well, this is what we've been saying this entire time. Anybody can throw. His stats are inflated by Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And, oh, by the way, Flacco kind of made the offensive line look better.
Yeah.
As did Jake Brown 2 years ago. And there's kernels of truth to that. So what I'm interested to see from Burrow coming back, you make the point all the time where he's said, I don't care, if I get sacked on third down,
right,
it's not that big of a deal. It's kind of a boom or bust play, right? I'd rather try to extend the play and create a play down the field rather than check down and, save the sacks, whatever it might be. But will he play a little bit cleaner as far as getting the ball out on time, take fewer hits? There was a point, Aaron Rodgers had this style when he was even at his best, where he had so many big plays, never really turned the ball over, but he took a lot of sacks. But there was points in Aaron Rodgers' career where it was like, man, he's better when he gets the ball out on time and isn't trying to play superhero ball all the time or create the big play down the field. I wonder if we find that balance from Burrow down the stretch here, where he gets the ball out on time a little bit more, believe it or not, like Flacco did. And Flacco was never that guy. And then he's become that guy as he's gotten into his 40s, right? So I don't know if it happens in one game, happens overnight, but I'm interested to see that from Burrow, if he finds that balance between the big-time throws, the plays down the field, but also getting rid of the ball on time, protecting that line.
And whether he'll try and protect himself a little bit. I mean, ultimately, some of this is a stylistic thing, and the fact that he's been injured this much is partly his own fault. I'm not saying actually that's probably not true. The bad knee injury, not his fault at all. Offensive line collapses. The one where his wrist just fell apart randomly, that's not really his fault stylistically either. Something just broke in his body. So, but he is exposing himself to hits that he doesn't need to take as a stylistic choice in his NFL career. Like the way he plays the game is reckless, and maybe specifically that hasn't caused these injuries, but it is increasing his risk of injury. And coming back off a turf toe, that's probably something he shouldn't be doing.
On the other side, we've seen Lamar Jackson also dealing with his own injury. And you wouldn't necessarily call Lamar injury prone, but he missed most of, 22 with injury. He's had a couple things that he's dealt with, and he doesn't look the same this year running the ball. So that'll be interesting on that side of the ball, because this is one of those on-paper matchups Baltimore should dominate. They did last year when they were on, against the Bengals defense. They did dominate. They ran the ball. They threw the ball. They put up a lot of points against Cincinnati. They should be able to do that again. Cincinnati was feisty last week, but again showed elements of, hey, we can't, cover, we can't tackle. Those things popped up at times. So think about, on paper, trying to tackle Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson with the way the Bengals linebackers and safeties have tackled this year. Should be a huge advantage for Baltimore, but doesn't always play out exactly like that. Baltimore's offense has not been great. They got stopped by the Jets' run defense largely last week. So we'll see if Baltimore can actually start putting it together on that side of the ball here.
Yeah, I mean, their offense hasn't been anything like the expectations all the way through the season. So that is going to be fascinating. The Bengals defense is terrible, but it did at least show last week they can go on a stretch where they make a couple plays, cause some problems. It feels like it's one of those things where, they can do that for a quarter or two, but eventually the longer you play football, the more obvious it is that your terrible players are just terrible players, and that's going to be a problem somewhere along the line. But it's another opportunity where the Ravens, I don't know if they're ever going to click back into gear this year, or if this is just who they are.
All right, man. Ravens by 7. It's Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, over under 51.5. Where are you going with this one?
As I said, I think Baltimore wins Cincinnati covers 7.
I'm going to go with the same thing. Bengals cover. Expect Baltimore to win because that's what happens in the AFC North on Thursday nights. But yeah, 7's a lot, I think, for Burrow coming back. So I'll take Cincinnati, as will Harry. We're on to Friday, the 3rd annual Black Friday game. Chicago Bears at the Philadelphia Eagles with massive playoff implications. Not just playoff implications, seeding implications here. Just a couple division leaders here. NFC North leaders, Chicago Bears, and the Philadelphia Eagles leading the East. 8-3 for both teams. Eagles favored by 7. The over-under 44.5 from our friends over at FanDuel.
Yeah, I mean, that tells you something about what Vegas, the man in Vegas, thinks of the Chicago team, if nothing else. I mean, they're on a run now of what, like 8-1 in the last 9 games, something like that?
Yeah.
Back-to-back losses to start the season, and then this run of much more impressive results. But the man in Vegas is still like, yeah, but against a really good team, they're still 7-point underdogs.
Couple things true here. They do have this negative point differential still. You could easily just throw out the Lions game and say, okay, you take away 152 to 21 game, and it balances things out. But just a fascinating run here. 2 25-24 wins, the 47-42 comeback against the Bengals, the 24-20 comeback against the Giants, 19-17 comeback against the Vikings, and then last week, not so much a comeback, but more of holding on to a 31-28 win against the Steelers. They're doing a great job of finding ways to win, creating a little bit of late-game magic. I know we spent a lot of time talking about Caleb Williams and some of his missed throws the other day. That's not necessarily the point here. I think this offense absolutely trending in the right direction. It's not consistent every week, right? There's some weeks where they're running the ball a little bit more effectively. There's other weeks where it's Caleb Williams' legs that are doing the trick. I thought last week it was the scheme, the passing offense. I thought they did a great job just creating space in the middle of the field and a lot of big play opportunities, including 4 verts against cover 3, which Mike Tomlin wanted no part of talking about last week.
Though he did respect the question.
He absolutely respected the question, but didn't want to explain why he was playing 30-year-old archaic spot drop cover 3 against 4 verts, and it was a wide open touchdown for DJ Moore. We'll talk about that when the Steelers game comes up. But anyway, I think this one, an Eagles defense that contest a lot of throws, makes life difficult with their pass rush and their coverage. It's going to be a challenge for this Bears offense in the way they've been going with Ben Johnson here.
Yeah, and look, what we said last week, the fact that Caleb Williams made a few major bad mistakes in that game that didn't show up in the box score. I mean, that can be true at the same time as directionally, I think he is absolutely going in the right direction with him and Ben Johnson at the helm. And so even though his, like a grade or whatever, like I'm sure his PFF grade wasn't great in that game because we're talking about at least 3 pretty catastrophic turnover-worthy plays, including that end zone fumble thing, which is like, I imagine that got a pretty, like that could have been a -2 based on how he played that, right? So his grade, I'm sure, sucked in that game. But overall, I think you are seeing a much more in rhythm, efficient, in control version of Caleb Williams as the season progresses.
Yep.
And that means the ceiling for this offense and for Caleb Williams is still through the roof. Like, that guy still has number 1 overall talent, potential, ability. The receiving weapons around him are still really, really good on paper, the same way they were heading into the season. Like, there are still reasons to believe that this offense is capable of pretty spectacular things.
This feels like one of those games, though. It's a great battle up front with the Eagles' defensive line, which, look, it's not as dominant as it's been at points in the last 10 years, but still really good. Against the Chicago offensive line that's been excellent.
Yeah,
now.
And additions have made a difference. I mean, bringing in
Jalen Phillips.
Phillips has made a huge impact on this defense. Like, they knew that, right? Like, you could see they brought him in, and day one he was starting. They didn't
16 pressures in 3 games,
right,
by the way.
But they didn't just like ease him into the lineup. They were like, oh man, we've stolen Jalen Phillips. Like, that guy, day one, his first week in, he's in there as a starter and played like a starter's representative chunk of snaps. They're moving him around, like they're doing the stuff that teams do when they have high-end pass rushers and know they can make an impact. So, like, Jalen Phillips hasn't just added to the depth of the defensive line. He's come in and upgraded the starting unit.
Yeah, so I think that battle, right, the Eagles' defensive line against this Bears' offensive line is going to be a key one. The other one, too, remember 2 weeks ago we saw Eagles-Lions, right? The NFC Championship that never was. You also get Vic Fangio now against Ben Johnson, the other NFC Championship matchup that never was. Ben Johnson, who's as good as anybody now at scheming up, getting players into space and what he's done, and then Fangio, who has done a great job, obviously, for a long time in his career, but creating pressure without blitzing, compressing passing lanes, allowing underneath throws, but tackling and still not giving up big plays. So I think that's an awesome matchup there. And thinking about how the Bears have done an excellent job attacking the middle of the field, and how the Eagles have recently invested in really good linebackers, right? In Nakobe Dean and Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell in the first round. So there's a lot of just schematic matchups Friday at 3 that are going to be fun to watch in this one.
Yeah, it's a really fun game, both sides of the ball.
But it's it's a huge one. Bears fans, man, this is it.
Well, this is your chance, right?
Yeah,
like you've gone on this run.
Respect idea here. If you're going to be legit, this is the type of team you're going to be, and I think the Bears got a chance here.
Yeah, you've gone on this run, and that's great, and you put yourself in a great position. But currently, the man in Vegas has no faith in you. Well, this is a game that can get like this. This is the type of performance where if they show up, if they win this game, if they look good doing it, this changes their betting line going forward by like multiple points a game, right? If they go out there and show that actually they are for real against a team. But let's be real. I mean, Philadelphia has had their problems. Like this offense is still not firing. It's not functioning, at least for full games, maybe for 30 minutes a game. But like this offense is still ready to, implode at any given moment and just stall and not run the ball, not pass the ball. The opportunity is there for the Bears to go out there and win this game.
And so that side of the ball, the Eagles offense feels like they have the firepower to put up 50 any given week, and they do about half that, right? They do 21 quickly or 21 quickly on either side, and they never put the full 40 or 50 together. But an Eagles run game that has struggled, that has not gotten much room on the ground, a Bears run defense that has allowed a lot of yards before contact. So Philly has a chance to maybe get back to running the ball a little bit. And then, it's going to be interesting to see if they can get the pass game going again. Deshaun Wright had a couple good games with those incredible interceptions each of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Can the Eagles create any semblance of consistency here?
And if that sustains, by the way, if Deshaun Wright has just decided to be a baller now, that's a pretty important development for Chicago.
Oh, absolutely. I heard Nick Foles breaking down the Eagles' offense, and I thought he did a former NFL quarterback-style job of describing what I've been trying to describe. He just said something similar, where it's like you just don't have a lot of schemed open plays.
Yeah, and we've been saying that for years. Like for some reason, coordinator to coordinator, like they've chopped and changed. It's not been the same group, every single year. But we've been saying that for so long and this is why you have to conclude that this must be at least a part driven by who Jalen Hurts is as a quarterback. That it remains this, that this is a characteristic of this offense throughout coordinators. That it is so much just one-on-one ISO routes on the outside, right? It's not they're not pressing the easy buttons. They're not using sort of complex route combinations to free up guys. It is just every now and again I'm going to throw the ball to A.J. Brown deep down the field one-on-one on the sideline, or here's same thing with Devontae Smith. It's just an inefficient offense. It's not drawn up the way these other offenses are, and I think you have to just determine there's something about Jalen Hurts that creates that.
Off the top of my head, there's a couple quarterbacks, and it's like, are we questioning Jalen Hurts?
And his numbers are good, by the way. Yeah. Like it sort of works.
Hurts he's got good overall numbers. I know touchdown interception ratio is extremely overrated. Is he at 17-1 or something right now? Like Stafford's getting all this credit for being 30-2.
Right.
Hertz is at 17-1. Whatever.
Golden age of touchdown interception ratio.
It is the golden age of TD-INT ratio. The Eagles have won a Super Bowl. They're always pretty good. Whatever. So it's not like a full knock on Jalen Hurts, but absolutely across multiple coordinators, the MO for the Eagles offense has been streaky, outside the numbers driven, and this idea that Hurts is going to kind of like deep drop, sit back, read the field, and throw an ISO route on the outside. Like that's the the oversimplification of what the Jalen Hurts offense has felt like these last few years. Other quarterbacks through the years have had these type of tendencies where, say, Joe Burrow was taking a lot. I mean, there were questions about Joe Burrow. Why aren't they under center? Well, Joe likes working from the gun.
Yeah.
Why doesn't Ben Roethlisberger run play action under center? Well, he doesn't like turning his back to the defense. Tom Brady never ran RPOs because he didn't want to read one defender. He wanted to read the entire field. So there are other quarterbacks who have been successful through the years who had these quirks where they almost condensed the playbook, or they had these tendencies that lasted across coordinators, say. It's not unique to Hurts.
No.
But it's still worth mentioning here. Like, it feels like there's something missing to this Eagles offense.
And an inefficiency, I think, is the right way of describing it. It's not that it's bad. It's that clearly there's an inefficiency to what they do that can be exploited sometimes and can cause problems. To me, it's like the let Russ cook era in Seattle. It's like even when Russ was playing his best football and his PFF grades were 90+ every single year, and he was, driving this team to a Super Bowl and stuff, or at least holding up his end of driving them to a Super Bowl, there was always this feeling that this is somehow not optimal, right? There's something missing to this. Like, why can we not get a little bit more out of this? Why is there this like slight inefficiency to this offense? That's what this is. Like, it's the unique way that Jalen Hurts plays the game just creates this sort of slight inefficiency to what they do, which manifests in Philadelphia's case, I think, in being streaky. Like, that's the problem with this, if you're identifying one. It's not that it's bad. It's not that everybody sucks. It's that the way this has to operate, for whatever reason, with Jalen Hurts at quarterback, manifests in these big streaks of, like, nothing happening, right? The offense is just stalled for 20, 30 minutes in this game. And that, I mean, it can be a problem, but it isn't always.
What's your go-to? It's almost like when you hit a lull, when you have two straight 3-and-outs, what's your get back on track play? And they don't necessarily, I don't know that they have that, right? It's like, just, ISO route to A.J. Brown or whatever it might be. So that's what's so fascinating about the Eagles. Still a really good team. I love the trench matchup in this one, and I do think Chicago's run defense might give them an opportunity to get the run game going a little bit more here. So it's Friday, 3 o'clock, Black Friday. Third straight.
Shopping capital of the year.
Third annual game. I'll be putting my tree up, watching the game with the kids, decorating for Christmas. Big day here this Friday. Where are you going to go with this one? Eagles by 7 in Philly, by the way.
Similar to the last game, I think Philadelphia wins, but Chicago covers.
These are big spreads. They're playing a lot of close games, the Bears. So I'll take Chicago as well.
Straight disrespectful line.
Disrespectful. Harry's going to take Philly, though. He doesn't care. Quick break to talk about today's sponsor, IM8. It's hard to keep up with every NFL game. We do our best, but we lose track of sleep. We go live at 7 a.m. every Monday. It's hard to keep those energy levels up, but that's where IM8's Daily Ultimate Essentials come in. It's a daily all-in-one wellness drink that gives my body the support it needs without juggling a bunch of different supplements. Co-founded by David Beckham and crafted with insights from experts at Mayo Clinic, Cedars-Sinai, and a former NASA chief scientist, it simplifies your wellness routine, makes it easier to support your health. The drink is loaded with 92 nutrient-rich ingredients. I can feel it flowing through my veins, designed to help you feel good from the inside out. So what makes IM8 stand out is how it combines science with nature. They use effective ingredients backed by research. Plus, it's been through clinical trials where 95% of participants felt more energetic and 85% said their digestion improved. It's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, also NSF certified, which means all the ingredients are third-party tested for purity. You can feel confident about what you're putting into your body, making it a solid choice if you're focused on your health. When I was playing minor league baseball as a pro, I only drank or took NSF certified supplements. You don't have to worry. Didn't have to worry about testing positive for anything like that.
Well, you didn't want to jeopardize such a promising career.
No, I did not. I didn't want to just go grab anything from GNC.
No.
Made sure it was NSF certified. So that hits home for me. I'm going to take a little sip of my IM8, which gets me through our morning shows here.
Yeah. There you go. Beautiful.
Beautiful. And nice little water bottle.
We should clip that little, and send it to them for advertising purposes.
Oh,
They could put that in their own TV ads.
You'll probably see me all over.
I mean,
the place.
you could use David Beckham as your spokesperson.
No, I'm a much bigger influencer.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll tell you why in a minute.
Okay.
Feel your best self every day with IM8. Go to im8health.com/CTM and use code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, and plus 10% off your order. It's IM8, HEALTH.com/CTM, code CTM for a free welcome kit, 5 free travel sachets, plus 10% off your order. IM8health.com/CTM, code CTM. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Really quick, Thursday night we did our watch along. We were gifted a pizza from Mohall. I bought it from my favorite pizza place, St. Francis of Pizza, right down the street in Hyde Park, also in Oakley.
What was the score? Portnoy went there.
So what I it's I'm on the email list for St. Francis of Pizza, and they were raving about how they had their biggest days ever.
I'm sure.
This weekend. And I can only conclude that that's because of our watch along where I sat on the couch over there, ate the pepperoni and waxed poetic about how great St. Francis of Pizza was. So every time I eat their pizza on air and endorse it,
their numbers go through the roof.
Numbers through the roof. Yeah. That's the only logical conclusion. Also, Portnoy went there, gave him an 8.2.
Ooh, yeah, that'll help.
Yeah.
That's a good score.
Yeah. I went back, I grabbed the tavern style, Monday night tavern style, which they're sunsetting at the Hyde Park location. It's going to be only at the Oakley location.
That's the one. That's the credit card.
Thin, really thin.
That we discovered was probably the source of
the crispy Ronies.
Yeah, that we discovered was probably the source of Neil's implosion on the training camp tour back in the day.
You did all this for tavern style pizza.
Yeah, a little bit.
You made me miss whatever.
I mean, I'm not sure I was focusing on the details, but I'm reasonably certain that wasn't said anywhere. Now, to be fair, the guy did clarify when we were ordering, like how many. He was like, "How many slices do you want?" And we were like, "I don't know, how big are they?" And he was like, credit card size. We're like, you can't really mean that. I mean, that's a really small piece of pizza. Turns out he was for real. Yeah.
Nobody knows the inside story that we're talking about here, but watch along worthy if you haven't told it on air yet.
Yeah,
I'm sure you have somewhere in the last 10 years.
Definitely have. Yeah.
All right, we got 15 games to get through here. Houston Texans at the Indianapolis Colts. It's Sunday at 1. We're on to Sunday, by the way. Colts favored by 4.5 here. And now things are getting interesting in the AFC South. How hard could it be? Texans 6-5, Colts 8-3. The Colts they're a game up on the Jags. They're 2 games up on the Texans, and the Colts have to play 4 games against those teams, Texans and Jags. So the division, even though the Colts got out to a great lead and a great start, and the Texans were like 2-5 just a couple weeks ago, the division's wide open now because of all these head-to-head matchups.
Yeah, it is. And in Skip Bayless' world, we have to ask the question, is Daniel Jones now the problem in Indianapolis?
Is Indiana Jones? I need a pun off Indiana.
Well, Indiana Jones disappeared. Using Sam Hoppin's quarterback composite stats thing, I see that Daniel Jones now ranks 18th in PFF grade on the season. So he's now back to being a below average. Average to below average.
That's average.
Starting quarterback, just like he's always been.
Where's he in EPA?
EPA per play, he is 5th.
5th. So when you
success rate 3rd.
When you read low PFF, high EPA success rate, you're thinking, okay, playmakers, scheme, there's something there elevating the quarterback. The production's higher than the level of quarterback play. And if you're a Colts fan, that's fine. I don't care where the production comes from if I'm a Colts fan or if I'm even the Colts. I don't care as long as, theoretically, all you want is points. But all you want is, EPA. If the EPA is good, that's good for the offense, right? And that usually leads to points. That's all I really care about. But when you get to the underlying metrics, it comes down to a game like last week, when you have a team that takes away Jonathan Taylor, when you have a team that is really difficult on 3rd down, like the Chiefs, or like the Texans, the way they rush the passer, and they've got ball hawks in the secondary. They have the 2 elite pass rushers, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. That's where it's a little concerning, where if the quarterback's not playing as well as the production and you get into a game where it's got to be more quarterback-driven, do you trust Daniel Jones? And it's multiple weeks of not just the turnover-worthy plays. Was there only one against Kansas City, fired it into double coverage in crunch time, and it was dropped? But I still go back to the fumbles before the bye week. I go back to just a little fidgety in the pocket, right? A little happy feet in the pocket from Daniel Jones. And that's where I think I've got some concerns about where it's trending for the Colts, despite how efficient that offense has been.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can be in any way, shape, or form confident about Daniel Jones against reasonable opposition. And remember, we're talking about a defense that just made Josh Allen, have a really, really, really rough game. This Texans defense is pretty terrifying in various ways. Meanwhile,
they're one of those three defenses that make you wake up the next day and contemplate everything about your offense. Were we never that good?
Right.
What do we do? Is Josh Allen over the hill? They make you rethink everything because that defense is so good.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got Daniel Jones coming off like 3 consecutive fairly rough games, which have totaled, I think, 10 turnover-worthy plays in those 3 weeks. As you said, okay, only one of them last week, but that one was, again, forced throw into double coverage in critical crunch time late in the game. Like, that's as bad as a turnover-worthy type of play as you're going to get. But also the efficiency generally is down. Like, everything's down over the last 3 weeks. He hasn't played well. He's put the ball in harm's way. These are all bad things. It's a 3-week trend, and none of those defenses are as good as the Houston defense. So, as a trend, that's pretty concerning.
Now, all that said, the Colts, they've been a little bit better at home. They got the dome. And they're still a good team, right? They're still a very good team. C.J. Stroud, I assume, will be back here. We don't have an injury report, but he'll probably be back here. It is fair to – we're in this world now with the Texans. C.J. Stroud's had a bit of a roller coaster ride the last year and a half, really. All of last season, beginning of this year. Davis Mills had like 5 touchdowns, 1 interception in relief. I think there was a handful of huge throws in a scramble from Davis Mills, a game-winning scramble against the Jags. Made some big plays when it was needed. I thought he did a nice job. There's a little bit of Mills playing like Flacco behind an offensive line that theoretically was having issues, but they made it look a little bit better. And Stroud, when he played, the offensive line wasn't always looking bad. It was just against teams that had really good pass rushes, when they played Denver, when they played those fierce pass rushes, Seattle. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic here to see if, I think Stroud's better than Davis Mills. I'll go out there and say it. But there's elements to his game where maybe if he's not protecting the line as well as Mills, he won't be able to have that same kind of success.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think he's helping it in 2 different ways. I don't think his play style necessarily helps an offensive line, and that's an issue. But also remember, this is the year that they gave him responsibility at the line to set protections, to adjust, to change things, and that was supposed to improve this offensive line. That was a complete disaster last year. It was like they'd never seen a stunt, they'd never seen a pressure package. Anytime you threw anything complicated at them, and I'm not even particularly complicated, just any sort of wrinkle beyond rush 4 guys in a straight line up, they completely collapse. And you're like, well, we're going to fix that because now C.J. Stroud will have control. At the line, he'll be able to see what's happening. He'll be able to adjust it. He'll be able to get the protection in the right place. And it hasn't had any kind of positive effect. So I think there may be an element where Davis Mills might be better at that than C.J. Stroud is. And I'm not saying that as a massive feather in the cap of Davis Mills as much as it might be problematic for C.J. Stroud. But in every other way, he's, I think, a much better quarterback than Davis Mills.
Stroud pressured about 5%, 4 or 5% higher than Mills so far this year.
Which is a fair chunk.
It is. And look, some of it's, I know Mills came in the Denver game and everything, but Stroud against Seattle, that was a rough one, I believe, off the top of my head. There were some tough ones in there, but like we said, when they played, say, the Niners or teams that couldn't get pressure, it didn't look as bad. So, again, Stroud's a better quarterback. I think the ceiling for this offense is much higher with C.J. Stroud, which is why I've been so optimistic about the Texans, the way this defense plays, sitting on this 2 years' worth of potential offensively. And now you've got the rookies showing all these flashes, especially the last couple weeks. Woody Marks at running back, Jaden Higgins at wide receiver. I think they're trending in the right direction, man. Houston riding this defense with Stroud coming back can be really dangerous here. And they've got a stretch. They're going to play the Chiefs in a couple weeks. They get the Colts here twice. So they've got everything in front of them, as the coaches would say. All their goals still in front of the Houston Texans, who started the season so poorly.
The last thing about this Houston defense, by the way, is that they have a naturally good run defense to the point where it's not like the Colts can just lean on Jonathan Taylor and be like, don't worry, we're going to take the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands. It's going to be Jonathan Taylor making everything happen. I mean, he's been very good, so maybe he can have some success anyway. But the Texans have a good run defense, which will help everything about that side of the ball.
Will Anderson, by the way, 59 pressures per NFL Pro. And what did I say? It's 64 per PFF, just for perspective here, because we always pick on Tyree Wilson and Trayvon Walker. Draft classmate Tyree Wilson has 84 career pressures per PFF, and Will Anderson has 64, this year.
Actual pressures this year. Yeah, it's not great. Not great at all.
There were some teams that had Tyree Wilson above Will Anderson on their draft boards.
There were. And that never made any sense to me. But
look, the draft is difficult. Everybody's got their hits and misses. There are a few that just seem blatantly obvious.
Yeah, I mean,
that you shouldn't even have to debate.
It's one of those ones where it's like, the draft is difficult and everyone's going to get things wrong. There are some times, though, where it feels like even within, everything's possible. It's all a range of outcomes. It's like the crossover area Venn diagram here where this actually ends up true feels so small. It's not the area we should be shooting for.
Tyree, number 127 on my draft board.
Will Anderson also tied for the league lead in quick pressures with 28. 3 players are tied. Who are they?
Nick Bonito.
Yep. Will Anderson.
Will Anderson and Micah Parsons.
Correct. All 3, 28 quick pressures.
I'm back at good guesses. All right, man. Colts by 4.5. By the way, no DeForest Buckner for the Colts. I mean, he's been on IR. I mean, I thought I saw Dano mention it or someone else. Like, that was a big loss, I thought, against Kansas City, not having him, in the middle. And I love in the matchup now, Sauce Gardner and Travarius Ward on the outside against Nico Collins, Jaden Higgins. That's going to be a fun one to watch here. So,
and that might help their pass rush get home. The fact that they can play 40% man coverage, that they can try and slow down the obvious throws for C.J. Stroud and make him hold the ball, take longer, which he tends to want to do anyway. I mean, there's a world where this becomes a very low-scoring defensive battle.
All right, Colts in the Dome. I don't want to completely sour on them, but favored by 4.5 here with Texans team trending in the right direction. Where are you going to go with this?
I'm going to go with the Texans.
Same. Yeah, I'm taking Houston, man. I'm back riding the Texans train here. Harry's going to take the Colts to cover the 4.5. We got the New Orleans Saints at the Miami Dolphins. Sunday at 1. Dolphins favored by 5.5 here. 2-9 Saints in the 4-7 Dolphins.
Yeah.
Coming off their bye.
And, their improved performances.
Yeah. We'll be quick on some of these games here. Like this one. What are we looking for in this game?
I mean, Miami, Devon Achane is worth watching in any given week. That dude is pretty special as a running back.
Stole my notes.
Oh, yeah? That was your note? Devon Achane equals good?
Like, we usually give, what are we looking for? Something to watch in this game. Devon Achane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the thing to watch for the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah. That's about it.
Yeah.
Dolphins generally,
they're on a run of 3 wins. 3 wins in 4.
The Mike McDaniel dynamic, you've said for the most part they've played hard. I think they've shored up this run defense that was awful and looked soft early in the year, playing with better energy on the defensive side of the ball. Jordan Brooks has played excellent, I think, at linebacker and been a big part of that. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, we've soured on Miami and said they've got some serious holes on both lines of scrimmage. I don't really trust their defensive tackles yet. Their offensive line has issues. The whole secondary is a mess.
Yeah.
So they had massive holes coming into the season, but then they were way worse than they should have been on paper. So, both things were true.
Yeah.
They're at least back to, where they should have been, I would say, from being more competitive, even if they're not a great team.
It's not like they've been – you can point to things that do look to be coaching failures, right? Like, even against Washington, you're like, why are you trying to run power football at the 1-yard line? That's not really what you do, and you don't become a power football team just by putting in Ollie Gordon instead of Devon Achane at the goal line. So you can look at that and say, well, that's a Mike McDaniel failure, quote unquote, on that play. So it's not like he's been perfect, but if you were looking at Miami overall and you were saying what was the problem here, you would I think, fairly clearly say this has been a personnel problem more than it's been a coaching problem. And quite clearly, at no point has Mike McDaniel, lost the locker room, as they say. And there was a great clip coming out of that game against Washington where, like, him and Deebo Samuel, they're hugging, they're joking. Like Deebo clearly loves that guy from their time in San Francisco together. And it's like, look, McDaniel's sort of weird shtick, like he's a quirky character. And that doesn't play as well when you're losing football games as when you're winning football games. But in particular, I don't think it plays as well to the media, right? So I think a lot of this whole is McDaniel the problem thing, I think it's journalists looking at his shtick and being like, this guy's kind of a jerk. I'm kind of sick of this. The players still love him, and that's the bigger point. And if you're the owner, I don't know how clued into his own locker room he is, but given... you talk about disconnected billionaires. This was a guy there was a video of him seeming upset that he had to walk 50 feet from his private jet to his private car. And, so I don't know how much he's got his finger on the pulse of his own locker room is what I'm saying.
50 feet? That's a lot.
Something like that. Look, who knows? It's the thing you hate, right? Like it's the caption was, Stephen Ross is mad. He's got to walk 50 feet from his jet to his car.
Don't read the caption.
Who knows what he was mad at? Who knows if he was even mad? Maybe he's just got resting bitch face as a billionaire. Like, who knows? It's all an unknown.
He could be perfectly content walking.
Correct, exactly. But if the caption was to be believed, he was upset that he had to walk an unnecessary distance from his private jet to his private car and be ferried somewhere. Anyway, if Stephen Ross is, surveying the locker room as to what do you think about our head coach? Should we be making a move? I would say those guys are still fighting for Mike McDaniel. They're still very much in his corner, and that's an important variable here.
The one other dynamic that's interesting to me, like you have, has the Dolphins' offensive line been good at any point with McDaniel from a personnel perspective? And that's a scheme. Remember, there was a point with that scheme where the Texans had a bad O-line, but they were making it work with our friend Bobby. The Dolphins had a bad offensive line, but they were making it work at least against bad teams with McDaniel. The Niners didn't necessarily have it on paper, but they were making it work with Kyle outside of Trent Williams at left tackle. I wonder if they made one offseason investment the way the Bears did and just go all in. Like the Bears went Joe Thuney at guard, Jonah Jackson at guard, get the center, just get it, Drew Dahlman, and just load up on the offensive line. Because right now they're bottom 5 in both pass blocking and run blocking per PFF. Yeah. And that's been we've been able to overcome that before, but imagine Tua and McDaniel with a stout offensive line. I mean, so when I take over as Dolphins GM, you can throw the resume in this offseason here. When I take over, I'm going to pitch that. We're going to go full O-line here first. Give Mike what he needs, because I think he could be good. And my storyline for the Dolphins the rest of the season, do they remain competitive in all these games? They don't have to win out or anything like that, but do they remain competitive? And if we're going to at least say, hey, the Bengals are still alive with 8 losses at 3-8 with Joe Burrow coming back, theoretically the Dolphins could win out and be very much in the mix at 10-7. So we'll keep an eye on it. If they're going to do that, they got to win this game against the Saints.
And they found, I think, a pretty good left tackle in Patrick Paul. Who, that was a
and then you add 4 pieces to it.
That was a big question mark heading into the season. Yeah. It's like, man, you're relying on this young guy that was a second round developmental draft pick. Like, what if he sucks? And actually, he's been the one thing on that offensive line that's been like a pleasant surprise. It's just everything around him sucks.
And if you're a Saints fan, just more Tyler Shuck development, and the Jets game is next up in our preview. And I've encouraged I will encourage Jets fans to watch Indiana-Purdue this weekend if you want to watch a little Fernando Mendoza. Watch the Iron Bowl this weekend if you want to watch a little Ty Simpson. Oregon, they play in this? Yeah, Oregon-Washington, I believe. So watch some of these rivalry games with the quarterbacks who could be coming out, because I think New Orleans will have a decision to make near the top of the draft as far as quarterback goes versus what Shuck does here down the stretch.
And because all the quarterbacks that people thought were going to be coming out have been bad.
Yeah. I mean, Arch starting to look good, but I don't think he's coming out. What?
No, I don't think he was ever coming out. He's certainly not coming out after the way he started this season.
No, but he's trending in the right direction. Lenore Sellers hasn't really developed as a passer, so those are the games to watch if you're a Saints fan. Friday, Saturday.
That much faith in Tyler Shuck, huh?
Anything else on the Saints?
No. I mean, we'll see. Watching Tyler Shuck's always entertaining.
Sure is. Miami by 5.5 here on Sunday.
I'm pretty sure I have. No, I got the Saints covering this.
The Saints. I'll take Miami. Believer in the Dolphins.
Yeah,
Harry's going to take the Saints here.
Now that I think about it, I think Miami. I don't know why I'm taking the Saints, but all right.
All right, let's go Jets at home against the Atlanta Falcons. Also Sunday at 1. Falcons favored by 2.5 here. Another 4-7 team in Atlanta. 2-9 Jets over under just 39.5 here. Kirk Cousins playing outdoors in the Northeast.
Kirk Cousins versus Tyrod Taylor.
Throwing that out there. And as I just said, if you're a Jets fan and you want to keep an eye on next year's quarterback class, you have Indiana-Purdue. It's on Black Friday. That's a Friday game. You've got the Iron Bowl, Alabama-Auburn. See Ty Simpson in Auburn, right? See how he handles the road environment, where they had a big special this week testing to see if the place is, has ghosts everywhere. Crazy stuff happens. They had the kick six back in 2013 that launched Auburn to the national championship, and then you've got, or to the national title game at least, and then the Oregon Dante Moore game against Washington. So that's this weekend for Jets fans.
Mm-hmm. Also, obviously, they've got a million upcoming draft picks, so there should be as focused on the draft as anybody at this point.
I mean, you can look at next year's class too. You can look at Lenora Sellers and C.J. Carr and Arch Manning will be in the mix probably in the 2027 draft.
Yeah, and you could really argue that that's the thing to be doing for the Jets. Number one, you've got more draft capital that year anyway, right? And number two, that may be the better quarterback class. Now, people tend to say that almost on a yearly basis. Watch out for next year.
Yeah.
But
we'll have this debate plenty.
Yeah.
This offseason.
You can also construct a very strong case that the smarter way of doing this thing is to try and build the team and then go get the quarterback.
Yeah.
Like maybe they're not going to be in the market this year.
You take like a 1-year flyer on a Kyler Murray, or you take a mid-round flyer on a whoever, Carson Beck or Drew Aller as a bridge.
Right.
Bridge mid-round pick. It'd be the same thing as like Dylan Gabriel or Sanders, what the Browns are doing, and then you're going to be picking next.
The only concern with that for the Jets specifically would be, do they have the owner that got the patience to deal with that, or will they be like, yeah, that's a great draft plan, or that's a great plan, and then when they're 1-7 next year, he just fires everybody, and your plan went out the window.
But there will also be a football game this weekend against the Falcons.
Yes. I raised that only because their owner received an F grade from the NFLPA and then wanted to destroy the NFLPA survey system. These things are probably connected.
There's two types of people in the world. There's people who take negative feedback and vow to do better.
Well, and
then there's people
they take negative
who vow to kill the evidence.
They take negative feedback as an opportunity to improve, or negative feedback is something that needs to be eliminated. That's really the two types of people. And Woody Johnson appears to be the type who believe negative feedback is something to be destroyed.
I empathize with Woody. I don't take negative feedback all that well. I tend to turtle up a little bit and get defensive.
You see when Quinnen Williams is like, Jerry Jones is one of the best owners I've had. It's like you've had two owners, and one of them is literally the worst owner in the NFL, according to the players. One of them is the only guy that got an F. So, yeah, relative to Woody Johnson, Jerry Jones may well be a great owner.
I bet enough people have Jerry like mid-tier owner.
Well, it depends how you measure these things. I mean, if your goal is to maximize money, Jerry's probably the best owner in the NFL.
Great set, the star is wonderful.
Right.
Yeah.
Like there's certain ways where I think you could rank Jerry Jones extremely highly.
If you're ranking his general manager.
Yeah, if the goal is like which is the most likely to win a Super Bowl in any given year, then Jerry's probably not that high. Anywho.
Cousins and the Falcons. What do they have here coming up?
What is the weather here? Because if there's a breath of wind, this is Jets all day long.
Hey, Siri, weather for East Rutherford on Sunday. This is great. I haven't. 52 with a drizzle.
Drizzle?
The drizzle.
Well, the drizzle's not going to affect
The drizzle's going to be carrying a lot of weight here.
No, I don't think the drizzle will impact them that much. It's more, what are we dealing with?
9-mile-an-hour wind. That's it. Sometimes the stadium is swirling, so you don't know.
It does say, I see rain. I see 13-mile-an-hour winds.
Once we get up to 13, this is iffy for Cousins. Cousins versus Tyrod.
Winds at 10 to 20 miles an hour. But the chance of rain is significant.
All right. So over-under 39.5. It'll be 17 to 13 maybe. Probably a heavy run game for Atlanta.
I mean, yeah.
With Bijan and Tyler Algier. I think they can they should be able to run on the Jets. But I was impressed. Like, the Jets held Derrick Henry in check. Like, they've played hard despite, again, losing some of their good players these last couple of weeks here.
I mean, honestly, they played hardest in the last couple of weeks since they traded away their 2 best defensive players. They have been remarkably improved in that area. Plus, look, Tyrod Taylor does make a significant difference to that passing offense as well. Now, it's still not good. They still don't have any receivers to throw to, but he at least is functional as a passing quarterback in a way Justin Fields was not this season.
Falcons are in win-out territory to stay alive. They've got 3 very winnable games, but they also still have games against Seahawks next week. They've got the Bucs. They have the Rams still on the schedule. Also the Cardinals and Saints. But if they're going to do anything, got to win this one. Take care of business.
Yep.
Spent a lot of time in this game. More than I anticipated.
A lot of time on Woody Johnson.
Yeah, Falcons by 2.5 here.
I will go with the Falcons.
Same. They're going to let us down again.
Yeah.
Harry is also taking the Falcons. Speaking of weather, San Francisco 49ers at the Cleveland Browns. The Niners are favored by 5.5, but it's in Cleveland. And it's going to be rainy, or it's going to be cold and windy, at least. We'll get the updated report here.
As of right now, they've got a lake effect snow warning in Cleveland.
Oh, this is wonderful. Shedeur's first home start. So he makes his home debut here as the starter. And if you remember the last time the Niners went into Cleveland, Purdy was like 12 for 27 or something like that. Now, it wasn't all him, but that was one of those games I think I had to defend some of the
that was
the
wet, right? That was the game. It was a rainy game.
Like a little. It was like not wintry, but it was rainy and windy and just Cleveland weather.
Yeah.
And he goes 12 of 27, but a lot of that was drops. Like that was
right.
Like
he just
McCaffrey dropped.
The ball kept flopping out of his hand as well.
So he had some bad throws. McCaffrey dropped what could have been a 50-yarder. I think Ayuk dropped what could have been like a 30-yarder. And that was one of the games I may have had to inform Cleveland ownership why their coverage grades were low that day for PFF.
Yeah.
I had to like send a telegram.
I know your numbers are good, but it turns out that was because the players kept dropping footballs.
It was one of those,
not because you covered well.
I had to bring context to the grades because maybe the leadership in Cleveland was questioning what was going on at the time.
It's like when we were.
Am I free to speak about this now? Are we past all time here? So I had to explain. Look, this isn't an excuse, but like 7 drops or whatever it was by San Francisco. Purdy, it goes 20 of 27 for like 350 because all those guys were open.
It is amazing, the capacity of the human brain to just toss out information that passed by its eyeballs mere minutes ago is mind-blowing. Like, again, it's like the J.J. Watt thing, right? I know I just watched Caleb Williams put the ball in harm's way at least 3 significant times, but he had a really good game because none of those were recorded on the stat sheet. I looked at the stat sheet and I see 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. And so he played really well, even though what I just watched was him throw the ball to defenders twice and him have some sort of complete conniption in the end zone and lead directly to 7 points to the opposition, right? The Browns are sitting there in their fancy booth with canapes and, drinks and whatever, and they're watching wide open 49ers players all game long drop the football. And then they come out at the end of it and they're like, why are our coverage grades really low? I'm going to get onto those PFF people and be like, what's the deal? Look at that. I'm looking at the numbers right now, and I'm seeing really, really good passing efficiency by this defense. I'm going to need an explanation here. You're like, the explanation is you just watched all these guys drop the ball when they should have had. What are you talking about?
And it's why I mentioned the weather and the outdoors, and it goes both ways, right? I think dome teams have a disadvantage. I think Cleveland and Chicago and the Jets and the Giants have an advantage when it comes to playing better defense. Doesn't mean every year they're always going to have a better defense, but when you have games where it's difficult to throw, and by the way, it's difficult to throw, it's difficult to catch as well. That is all factored in. That's why passing efficiency is down in some of those stadiums.
And the weather forecast for this game involves wind of 21 miles an hour with gusts up to 44.
This is beautiful. So you have Brock Purdy, who's already working with a below-average NFL arm, is going to deal with great anticipation in his 3 bad throws the other day. Kyle said late. I said late. Late, floated, off target. They were bad. They were all picked. I'm not going to get into the Kurt Warner thing, but I did in my class last night, my football analytics class, Kurt Warner's analysis. Because he said Purdy made 3 mistakes.
Just 3 mistakes.
The other day.
That's it.
That they all happened.
That's a good game.
But he was relating to himself because he's like, when I made I will bring this up. This is an interesting dynamic because his theory, and this is something I would love to test. His theory is that touch throwers or below. Kurt had a good arm, right? Yeah. Purdy does not have a good arm from a pure velocity standpoint. But Kurt was saying, I throw with touch. I used to throw with touch. Therefore, when I missed, it got picked more often.
Right.
And I saw somebody immediately in the comments is like, I wonder if this is Caleb Williams' low interception total, or even say like Josh Allen had low interception totals relative to the passes that he made.
Remember, people always made the argument that Brett Favre simply threw the ball too hard to catch from a defensive point of view. Like the fact he's throwing knowing that it's going to go right through the hands of the defender.
Yeah.
Because he's throwing a bullet every time.
I mean, that was, yes. My read is through the linebacker's face.
Exactly. Right. What I'm attempting here is to literally throw it through the hands of the defender, but it's right in front of my guy.
It's an interesting question to ask. Do Brock Purdy's turnover-worthy plays, are they more likely to get intercepted? Now, listen, off the top of my head, when Purdy was killing it early on, there were many games that he got away with stuff.
Yeah.
And we were like, listen, he's been great. However, here's 2, here's 3. So I think it probably evens out over time, but that was Kurt's theory.
I mean, I think there's also something interesting about this idea of, he made 3 mistakes, and he basically said he made 3 mistakes, and 3 mistakes is a good game from a quarterback, right? It's like, it sort of depends what the mistakes are.
Well, there's levels to it. Yeah.
Right. There's Caleb Williams' mistake, which is you ran into your own end zone, panicked, and threw the ball on the floor. And that ended up with 7 points for the opposition.
That's worse than an overthrow.
Right. That's about as big a mistake as you can possibly make. It's certainly a bigger mistake than you made the right read, threw the ball in the right general direction, and you were off by a yard, and that ended up being the result of an interception, right? It would be interesting to sort of know, what percentage of just, if you literally just recorded it as mistake or not, what percentage of mistakes end up as turnover worthy?
Yeah, I mean, that's what, if you just go check out Kurt's Twitter feed, because he's talking through this, and I think it's interesting, because I think he's halfway there. He's quantify things. And if he says, I chart all these games, and a 3-mistake game is great,
right?
His next level, I think, would be to chart levels of, they have 4 different levels of mistakes.
Yeah.
And then you just backtest it and say, okay, how often do the most disastrous mistakes actually become turnovers?
Right. We apparently have a Brock Purdy Shouty Show segment that we can fire up right now.
Yeah, let's get it. Shouty shows are going to help us preview this game. Let's do it.
Brew, are you worried about Purdy?
Worried?
Okay.
Come on, man. No, sir. Yeah. Mr. QB wins. Asking me if I'm worried?
He has won 3 games.
Yeah, in 4. He's 3-1. They're 8-4 overall. Last night they beat a playoff contender handily.
Despite
and I'm supposed to be worried? I ain't worried at all. I'm quaking! I'm overwrought! I am trembling like a twig in a windstorm. That's how worried. You're worried. I wish I was only worried.
Just cancel the show. We can't get any better than this. You're the best. You got to be a solo.
Google me, Wilds.
You're unbelievable.
Google me. Check my IMDb page.
I don't belong.
You don't think a brother can act. Now you do. Now you know.
I don't belong here. I need to go to AAA or something. You're the best.
I don't even know what I'm listening to.
I mean, it's I don't know. I can't remember what his show's called. Nick Wright's show with Jalen Rose, right? That's what that was.
First Things First?
Is that what they call it?
I don't know.
It's whatever that show is.
I don't watch any of those shows.
Yeah.
Except on Wednesdays.
Right. More than
he's being sarcastic here about Purdy?
No.
Or are you saying he's legit?
Like he's legit. I mean, look, we sort of made this point coming out of that game. By the way, I guess they are technically, but beating a playoff, they beat the Panthers. I guess technically they're a playoff contender, but are they really?
I wasn't catching what was sarcasm and what wasn't there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, look, we brought up this point that that was not a good game from Brock Purdy. I would say, despite Kurt's assertions that 3 mistakes is a really good game. I would argue more that you turn the ball over 3 times, you that's not great. We sort of raised this point that like Mac Jones was playing well. Yes, Brock Purdy, I believe, is a better quarterback in isolation and a better combination with a Shanahan offense when everything's going well. But is Brock Purdy A, 100% healthy, and B, playing his best football at the moment? Because I think both of those things need to be, like the answer to those both needs to be yes in order for him to be an upgrade over Mac Jones. But they already made the call to go back to him. So now you can't go back to Mac Jones and be like, actually, psych, he wasn't really healthy. You're kind of stuck with it now. So what if you just put him in there and either he's not 100% healthy or he's not playing his best football or one because of the other, and now you've just downgraded a quarterback at a time when you don't really have the margin for error because your defense is pretty bad and you need the best version of your quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Brock Purdy overall. Just in the
not like long term,
yeah,
but like over the down the stretch.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about him in this game.
Yeah,
because I think it's going to be tough throwing the ball. You've got this high volume Christian McCaffrey running attack and short passing game, and what they're going to be able to do against this Cleveland defense and the way they're playing and their pass rush.
Like they've got, I would say, 2 very good defenses, 2 pretty good defenses, and 1 pretty rough defense down the stretch. So, you kind of need the best version of whoever your quarterback is in those games, most of them.
We've got shouty shows on the other side as well. Before we get to that, I just don't want to forget, we get to watch Myles Garrett and Trent Williams go up against each other. And Trent, maybe not as good as he was a year or two ago, still great.
This is another one of those things, though.
Matchup-wise.
Like, if you were the Browns, why would you have a single snap of Myles Garrett versus Trent Williams if you're the Browns? Why would you not?
Well, it goes both ways because if he actually wins that matchup.
Yeah. It's
always like the value of when you actually win that matchup is through the roof.
But that's always
because you have other matchups that you can win.
But that's always the argument that, I mean, I guess, fine. Give him the first series. And if he doesn't quite obviously whoop up on Trent Williams, then let's say, all right, that's a nice idea, but let's instead go and ruin Colton McKivitt's life on the other side of the line.
But it's more so because if he does go to the other side of the line, you have to do what every other team is doing, which is double, chip. You have to do a lot of work, where maybe if it's Trent Williams, like Trent Williams gets help too, but you're going to get less help. And so you don't have to change all of your blocking schemes. First off, I would just move Garrett around anyway.
Which they do. They do some of that.
Right, but the way the Packers do it more with Micah Parsons, or like the Steelers do it 0 with C.J. Watt. But I would move him around more just because, you don't.
I just don't
don't know where he's going to be.
I don't see the edge to taking the best pass rusher in the NFL and putting him one-on-one against one of the few people in the NFL with a reasonable shot of actually surviving that matchup and blocking him. When the other side of the line, he wins basically every snap. I mean, Colton McKivitz is not Stone Forsythe, but Colton McKivitz can't block Myles Garrett one-on-one. So why would you not know that and say he's going to spend all his time on that side of the line? Like someone else can get his ass kicked by Trent Williams, or at least go one-on-one and have a tough match. Like, what's the point in like self-neutralizing the best pass rusher in the NFL by putting him up against a truly elite offensive tackle?
I don't know. See what they do.
I don't get that. Like, I understand what you're saying, which is if he wins that matchup,
well, then he's good enough to win 3 or 4.
Right. Well, then Alex Wright or whatever has a good shot against Colton McKivitz, and suddenly you've got a completely unstoppable defensive line. It's like, but
Wunderkind has just been re-signed.
But generally, that's not what happens. Right. Like, generally, the elite pass rusher going up against an elite offensive tackle, it kind of neutralizes.
Yeah.
So I would say, knowing that that's the case, why even take the chance that Trent Williams can block him? Let's just move him to the other side.
Sacrifice Alex Wright over there, too.
Yeah.
All right, well, Shedeur's first home start. Let's hear what Skip Bayless had to say about him.
Jimmy Haslam knows they are back in business. They have found their guy. They had 5 quarterbacks. They even had Bailey freaking Zappi. And I said, Shedeur should start game 1 for this team, and it would energize everybody because it's a pretty good football team. The defense we know is very good. Myles Garrett is simply the best. With Judkins, they're going to have some juice in the run game they haven't had. You got all that cooking if you'd thrown Shedeur in from game 1, and I believe Jimmy Haslam, his inclination was to go that way. But Stefanski, these old school NFL good old boy network, they don't like Shedeur. They don't like his style. They don't like his flavor. They don't like his attitude. They don't like his bravado. They have stumbled into the greatest thing that's ever happened to the Cleveland Browns. I don't care if they're playing the 85 Bears every game. He will get better and better and better because he ain't afraid of nobody.
I'm sorry, hang on. We're just the greatest thing that's ever happened to the Cleveland Browns. This is a franchise. Now, okay, if you want to say the new Browns, fair enough. If you actually include the history of the Cleveland Browns, which technically is what you're supposed to do.
That's the Ravens.
This is a team that won how many straight championships in the 50s or whatever?
Stop. You're pre-1970.
Yeah.
It's the new Browns.
It's the Cleveland Browns. You can't just throw around stuff like that and be like, one of the greatest quarterbacks and championship teams to ever play just didn't exist.
Remind me, wasn't there at least one game where Johnny Football looked great?
Yeah.
Okay. There was like one or two games at Cleveland. Didn't they have that play where he faked going off the field and then caught a pass? Like there was at least one play with Kyle Shanahan. There was at least one game.
There was also he dropped a dime in there to somebody. Like he had a better throw than even that great pass by Shedeur last week.
I don't know if anyone can do this research assignment. I would bet some money that whatever Skip just said there, you could copy and paste the same thing that he said it in 2014 for Johnny Football.
Yeah.
And said Jimmy Haslam wanted him, and it's the best thing that's ever happened for the Browns. And Johnny Football's energized the team. I would bet some money that he had the exact same take on Johnny Football at least once.
It is patently absurd and stupid. And if it wasn't fake, I would be annoyed at its stupidity. But it is fake, so I'm annoyed at its lack of sincerity. Like, of course this is ridiculous to be like, we said, look, coming out of that game, Shedeur's not in a battle for the starting job. Shedeur is in a battle to prove that he can be the backup quarterback next year, right? There's almost nothing he could do for the rest of the season to win the starting job next year. Like, Sam Howell, against all odds, kind of won the starting job, or at least an opportunity to start for Washington with this kind of thing, right? You got an opportunity randomly. You actually played way better than people thought. And even then, people were like, yeah, they're probably going to replace him. And they didn't. They gave him the starting job, and that was a disaster, and that will probably never happen again. So even if Shedeur plays out of his mind for the rest of the season and looks amazing, I still think they're drafting somebody, and he's just won the backup job going forward. The idea that this is like, based off last week, which wasn't even that good. It was like, there's a really nice throw in there. There's a couple of good things. You also threw the ball to a defensive end, and your overall efficiency wasn't great. The idea that last week, you're like, oh, wow, we've just seen something amazing. We've just seen Tom Brady step into the job and win a gig, and now this is a dynasty going for. It's stupidity.
Yeah, a lot of the people that watch the film are like, yeah, let's wait and see. 66-yard swing pass.
And by the way,
there was this element of a couple downfield passes.
Yeah.
Elevated the offense for a bit.
Right, that's all baked into that.
Let's see it again against not the Raiders. The one thing I'll say, the way San Francisco did a nice job, I thought, playing man coverage and just take tight window throws for Bryce Young and the Panthers. Those were my concerns with Shedeur. If I had to oversimplify my evaluation of him, love him against zone. Love him making the right decision, getting the ball out, getting the ball to his playmakers. Didn't love him in man coverage where it's like, all right, the separation's a little snug. Put the ball on him. I think the Niners can match up man-to-man here and maybe cause some problems. Plus the weather. I think it's going to be a low-scoring
This is the
game.
thing. I think the discourse around Shedeur Sanders' arm was always overblown. I think his arm's actually pretty solid. I don't think it's a weakness to his game. But this is the game that everyone was like, you can't send that guy to Cleveland. That noodle arm in Cleveland with the wind and the rain, that's a recipe for disaster. Well, this is the game we're about to find out. It's apparently going to be winds of 20 miles an hour gusting to 40 miles an hour. That's a problem for most quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe it's not a problem for Josh Allen. It's a problem for pretty much everybody else. So this is the game where we're going to find out how much of an issue Shedeur Sanders' arm actually is.
Yes, completely agree. This will be, I think it's going to be a fun watch. Shedeur's first home start against the Niners. A little weather game. It's Sunday at 1. Niners favored by 5.5.
I'm going to go Cleveland to cover that, just because I think they'll be like 15-12 game, and therefore
weather and defense and
hard to
everything
get to 6 points.
I will take Cleveland, and Harry's going to take San Francisco. We're going to talk Shedeur over-under on his passing yards in just a second here. But you know how fast NFL game days move. One big play and everything changes. That's why live betting on FanDuel is a game changer. With FanDuel, you can bet in real time when the game is unfolding. Score just flipped, jump on a new spread or a live money line. That wide receiver's heating up. You can bet the next touchdown score or total yards. Think that drive stalls in the red zone. You can take a live field goal prop or fade the total. Live player props, team totals, drive results, updated spreads, next play markets. It's all there. It's fast, it's fun, and with FanDuel, your live bets move as quickly as the game does. So whether you're riding momentum or fading the hype, FanDuel puts you right in the middle of every moment. Visit FanDuel.com/33rd to download the app and bet the NFL live all season long. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinglinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Paid endorsement.
Producer Will has apparently done the research you requested and has a clip of Skip talking up Johnny Football.
All right, then this is amazing. Let's go. Let's do that first, then we'll get to Shedeur Sanders over-under here.
Forever regret passing on Johnny Manziel. And in a minute, I will go right down the list of teams that will forever.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
They'll regret it. Yep. If only Skip knew that Johnny literally watched zero football. No tape whatsoever.
Now, I will say Shedeur's the opposite. They said he was, he's at the cafeteria bringing his, I think Shedeur is he actually wants to succeed.
Yeah.
And work at it and everything.
Same.
It's just hilarious how polarizing everything about him is.
This is why I think this is why some of the crazy discourse around him, I think, is just a little bit, not just unfair, but unfortunate. He genuinely does have I think an attitude and a good attitude that wants to succeed and do things, and work. And it's not just a guy. Maybe he's got some immaturity and some sort of natural sense of entitlement just based off where he's come from. But it's not like Johnny Football, who is just I just want to party and watch no tape and ball out. Yes. He actually wants to be a good NFL quarterback at this. And maybe there's some things that rub people the wrong way, but I think there's a lot of good in what he wants to be.
All right, so over at FanDuel, the over-under for this week, Shedeur Sanders, 158.5 passing yards. Coming off a game where he had a 66-yard swing pass, 50-something yard downfield throw, threw for 250 at 10 yards per attempt. But you could call one or two, at least the swing pass a little fluky, and you've got the weather issues here, being at home in Cleveland, not in a dome against the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm going to go under because of their wind.
Yeah, I'll take the same thing. Under 158.5 here. You can play it as well.
And I want to be clear.
FanDuel.com/33rd.
I want to be clear, like I was at draft time. I don't think that that's a Shedeur-specific failing. I think in Cleveland, when the wind gusts to 40 miles an hour, 90% of NFL quarterbacks will look like crap.
Oh, yeah. It's tough. That's what I'm
So I'm not saying, because people would use, I can't, his arm, noodle arm Sanders over there can't play in Cleveland because of the wind. Yeah, but that is also true for most NFL quarterbacks.
It's tough for everybody.
Unless this game ends up being noodle arm Sanders with his 85 passing yards and 3 interceptions, meanwhile Brock Purdy's carved them up for 350 and an 80% completion rate, unless that's the dynamic we're talking about here, then it's applicable to most quarterbacks, not just him.
Yeah, I don't think the Niners defense is great, but if Shedeur tears it up against them in tough conditions, if the conditions are as tough as, it's Wednesday right now, we'll see what happens on Sunday. If the conditions are that difficult, I think that's impressive.
Sure.
Coming out of that. But I'll take the under as well, playing the weather here, under 158.5. All right, we're about halfway through.
What?
Yeah, let's go. Let's pick it up. Los Angeles Rams at the Carolina Panthers. This will be quick, right? Rams favored by 10.5. But, it's the 6-6 Panthers who do weird stuff every other week.
Playoff contender.
Over-under's 45.5 here. The Rams, everyone's number one team when it comes to power rankings.
Yeah.
Sitting at 9-2, looking really good right now.
So this, in a nutshell, is the Rams looking like the best team in the NFL. Their defense is suffocating. Their offense is carving people up. They look, as you said, like the best team in the NFL. Consensus. Everyone is saying that, and by a mile, some people are saying, against a Carolina team that was just exposed in prime time as frauds, right? They didn't look good. They were bad on both sides of the ball. Bryce Young wasn't able to back up the one random-ass game where he threw for 450 yards. Therefore, the Rams are 10.5-point favorites, and they should absolutely stomp the Panthers. But the Panthers this year make no damn sense, and therefore will somehow find a way of not just covering, but winning this game. And that will blow everybody's minds. They will have no idea what to do with that.
Without safety, Trayvon Merrick.
He got suspended a game for nut punching somebody.
Now, I saw...
Game's gone.
I saw my Pittsburgh friends put this out as a poll.
We've gone soft. What's happened? Game's gone soft.
What do you think? That's just a fine worthy?
Yeah.
For the people at home, Will, we need a poll for the chat. What is worse? Spitting at someone?
I can't believe this is even a question.
Or the nut punch? Spitting versus nut punch. I need to know what the people think. I saw our friends, Mulsey, put this poll out there on Twitter.
What was the result of their poll?
I'll let you know. I'll see where theirs is compared to ours.
Okay.
Let's see. Where's Mulsey? Because Trayvon Merrick,
he took a
nut
shot
punch
at,
to Juwan Jennings.
Yeah. And that caused a little bit of a fracas.
A fracas.
Kyle Shanahan was very happy that Jennings did not lose his mind after getting punched in the nuts.
Yeah. He's like, glad he...
And that, to me, is evidence of what I would argue that
whereas Tomlin said, yeah, you should go nuts.
Correct.
Do whatever you want.
Two different things. Two separate pieces of evidence, albeit connected.
This was Mulsey, Chris Muller. He positioned this as most disrespectful act, punching someone in the nuts or spitting on someone.
Yeah. And the answer is clearly spitting.
Spitting won 77%.
Yeah, you see? I'm trying to tell you. My two pieces of evidence that are at least connected. Number one, coach's reaction to said incident. Shanahan was happy that his guy did not overreact, and Tomlin was like, "That you do whatever you want when a guy spits on you. Do what feels natural in your heart," which apparently is punch a guy in the face. And then number two, reaction to said incident. Number one, Jennings did not lose his mind. Number two, Jalen Ramsey absolutely lost his mind and had every right to. I cannot believe you're even questioning what's more obnoxious a thing to happen to you, being spit on or being hit in the nuts. Obviously, being hit in the nuts is more painful, but being spit on is way more rage-inducing than being punched in the nuts. You're out of your mind to even question this. Oh, man. As 77% of Pittsburgh fans would tell you.
Our viewers are going the other way. It's 53-47, 55-54 now. It's back and forth.
Crazy talk.
Nut punch. Both equal a one-game suspension.
Well, that's ridiculous in itself.
And then I'm going to, where's this thing that I sent you? Where did I send this to you? I have, where's this Bryce Young stat breakdown that I sent you? Did I send that to you on Slack?
I don't even remember you sending that to me.
I definitely sent it to you somewhere. No, I'm losing it.
Oh, the thing that made no sense?
Just Bryce Young's career versus the Falcons versus everyone else.
Yeah, he wins against Atlanta and nobody else. Here it is. From Jamie Eisner. Bryce Young against the Falcons is 4-1 in his career, passes for 226.6 yards, has 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Against everybody else in the NFL, he's 8-26, passes for 183 yards a game, so that's 40-something yards lower. Yeah. Has 38 touchdowns and 26 interceptions.
Over 25% of his career touchdown passes have come against the Falcons.
And it's not like the Falcons' defense is garbage. I mean, okay, it has been for a bit of that time, but this is not one of those splits where it's like he beats up on a truly awful team every time he plays them, and then everyone else.
He just did it last week.
Against a defense that has made Josh Allen look ridiculous this year.
Spitting's overtaken.
Good. Finally, the sense has prevailed.
Cancel the poll just so Sam doesn't get upset. Just end it.
Stop the count.
Just so Sam doesn't get upset. There you go. Spitting 52-48 with 66
that's still
votes.
Not even close to as far as it should be. Anyway.
It's just a
BXC David. It's like 20 pounds of pressure can explode a testicle. I mean, yeah, if you get punched in the nuts to the point where it pops a ball,
That's worse.
that's going to upset you more than getting spit on. But I don't think that's your standard nut
And
shot.
so you might be saying, well, this happens. This was out in the open, right? We all saw this, and this happens at the bottom of piles all the time, right? It's just a part of the game. Devin McCourty had a great breakdown. What'd you do at the bottom of the pile to protect yourself? Fetal, clench your cheeks, close your eyes, shut your mouth.
It's like
It's like you protect every crevice.
it's like when you go up in a fighter jet and you got to stop passing out. You got to clench. In the flight suit.
Yeah. So that's
Stop the blood flowing to your feet.
that's what happens. Anyway, what are we talking about?
The fact that the Rams are almost certainly going to whoop up on the Panthers and win this game fairly handily, except weird things will happen because it's the Panthers and they'll somehow win.
Yeah, I mean the games that the Panthers have won, they've done. They had a little bit of weather in Green Bay, and they shortened the game, and they did a nice job running the ball. I mean that's their chance. I think it's an interesting dynamic where I think Carolina's best chance is actually this high volume rushing attack, where Rico Dowdle takes over. And that's where they've had the most success outside of the Atlanta game, where Bryce Young just had that twinkle in his eye that he was going to have a great game there.
And the one thing that I think we talked about coming out of the game the other night is the one thing I think that does explain some of Carolina's complete confusion is if they don't turn the ball over early and get in a hole. Like if they are
Right.
if they have some form of parity early in the game and they can turn it into a dogfight, then maybe they can win a game against a superior opposition like, say, Green Bay or maybe the Rams. But most of the games where they struggle, they dig themselves a hole early, and they are just not built for that kind of shootout.
So the other thing I just wanted to bring up about the Bryce Young thing, like those career stats, when you put him out that way, like versus the Falcons, versus compared to his career, it's like pretty jarring. And it reminds me of Daniel Jones. When you used to look at Daniel Jones' splits against Washington, either the football team or the Commanders, he was incredible. And then everything else, he was terrible during his time with the Giants. But with Bryce, he's at the point, because it was so bad early on, I don't want to use career stats for anything for Bryce Young, because there was this tipping point last year. Even though the stats didn't change, the film changed. But what's jarring now is the fact that the film is not great. Especially 3 out of the last 4 weeks, it's been awful. Well, outside of the best game of his career, plopped right in the middle of it in the Dome against Atlanta, where not only did he play great, but he did it with like double the efficiency. It was high volume, and it was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's now settling into a quarterback that is still not viable as a starting quarterback, like long term, but in a different way than he was when he was benched. Like when he was benched, it was like, dude, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. This tiny quarterback can't function in the NFL. This
like you might be out of the league.
Yeah, like this has been a total catastrophe. Get rid of this guy right now. Now it's like, okay, he's not that. He's at least functional. We can, this can work, but we're probably looking to upgrade you. You know what I mean? So but punctuated by random games where he throws for 450.
Right.
Which make no sense.
So anyway, Rams look great. Stafford's the favorite to win MVP. He's got the 30 touchdowns, 2 interceptions.
Yep.
Devontae Adams is an absolute red zone menace. Carolina had both starting cornerbacks injured on Monday night.
Yeah,
J.C. Horn, Michael Jackson. And so we'll see what happens as far as injuries go. We don't have the injury report right now. Clearly think the Rams are trending in the right direction, but it's a cross-country road game. Is there some kind of letdown? The spread's 10.5, though, so where are you going to go with this one?
Every fiber of my being says to take the Panthers because weird things happen, and it's one of those games where, of course, it's going to go that way. But I don't believe in magic. I don't believe in witchcraft, so the Rams are just going to beat them.
I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious.
I refuse to believe that that's a thing.
I'm going to take Carolina to stick within the 10.5 for whatever reasons.
This game's going to annoy me so much when it happens.
Yeah, probably is. I have to go opposite. Like I would take the Rams. All my Carolina picks are going to be opposites.
If it happens, right? If somehow Carolina finds a way of winning this game, I demand right now, and he may be listening, I demand a phone call from Dr. Eric Eager for him to explain to me, like I'm 5, how it happened.
Oh yeah, I'm good with that.
We don't need to broadcast it. I won't relay it to the people. I just, for my personal sanity, need to know how that happened.
He'll tell you that he had some like secret tip on Stafford tipping plays, and he was the reason.
Yeah,
he'll tell you how he was the reason. Or Eric catches a touchdown.
No,
as a former blocking
I don't think
tight
he'll
end.
do that.
Get him in there. All right, I'll take Carolina. I'm doing it. I believe in the Panthers to get within 10. Harry's going to take the Rams here. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Jags favored by 6.5 here in Tennessee. Over/unders 41.5. It's Sunday at 1. The 7-4 Jags and the 1-10 Titans. Jags are at this point where bunch of 7-4 teams, bunch of 6-5 teams in the AFC. Jags are technically the 6th seed right now. So Chargers, Jaguars, and Bills are all 7-4. Texans, Steelers, and Chiefs are all 6-5. It is a playoff picture that can absolutely flip on its head week to week. So there's no slip-ups allowed here if you're the Jags. And this is an important one against the Tennessee Titans, where Cam Ward's coming off probably his best game as a pro. I would say statistically, but also all the film bros agree he's looking good.
Yeah, he is. I mean,
film bros unite around Cam Ward overcoming some obstacles.
I think it would be hard to be watching him and say there's no development or no improvement in the last few weeks. I think he has definitely ticked up in the last few weeks, and he himself has been saying the classic cliches of, the game's slowing down for me now. And I think he looks like that. Like, he looks like somebody that just has a little bit more time, even though he doesn't, right? And I think that's all you can ask for from a Tennessee perspective down the stretch is, we're going to suck, and actually it's a better thing if we don't win games. But if we could just see some slight signs of improvement from the quarterback that we drafted number 1 overall and hadn't played well for the first half of the year, that would be great. And that's happening.
And then the quarterback on the other side, former number 1 overall pick in year 5 of his career, it's just funny because it's Ward's first year and you see 2 or 3 throws a game where you're like, okay, the potential's there. Got to clean up some other stuff. You got to miss, but the potential's there. Well, we're having like the same conversation with Lawrence where the high-end stuff is out of this world. Not out of this world, but it's really good. As Dan O said, like there are throws on tape where Lawrence looks like the best quarterback in the league. And can you say that for every quarterback? No, but you could say that for a lot of quarterbacks, right? If you just put the highlight reel out there. But Lawrence's highlight reel is special quarterback stuff. It's like it's not just this is an accurate go ball.
Right.
It's the crazy anticipation. It's a scramble drill play. It's a throw in between 3 defenders where it's like right on the helmet. Some really special stuff from Trevor Lawrence, but there's also some blatant misreads of coverage and inconsistency there. So we're in week 13 still looking for more consistent play from Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, yes. We talked about this coming out of last week, that his highlight reel is amazing, his low light reel is amazing, and honestly, the only players that you sort of really have that wild, polarizing debate on are mid-tier quarterbacks. Nobody really is making the argument that Josh Allen is just not very good. Nobody really is making that argument for any of those top-tier quarterbacks. You only really get that argument about mid-tier quarterbacks like currently Trevor Lawrence and other players before him. I think that sort of says it all for Lawrence right now, is he is and has been really for his entire NFL career some form of mid-tier quarterback who is capable of special plays but also pretty bad plays.
And he's almost like Bryce Young, where I'm like, all right, throw out the first year, and it could have been, I feel like we have this conversation all the time, but year 2, there was just like Jordan Love's first year starting, but it took the second year for Trevor Lawrence. The second half of 22, he was awesome. The second half of 2022, he answered a lot of the questions that I had. Carry the team, be more consistent, big-time throws, fourth quarter comebacks, take care of the ball. So it was half a season of excellent play from Trevor Lawrence. And my excuse for him the last 2 years was drops and injuries. I'm like, production could have been better, drops and injuries. And this year, drops are still there. Trust me, drops are still there. But he's been at fault as well. Now, what I think they do have, I'm interested in this budding development of him and Jacoby Myers. Like, Jacoby Myers might be playing himself into a future contract with the Jags as this dependable and high-end possession receiver.
And Parker Washington. All the receivers
I love Parker Washington still, yeah.
All the receivers that aren't the 2 we were excited about coming into the season have been really good for them. Parker Washington, Jacoby Myers, these are the guys, Brenton Strange, These are the guys that are all looking amazing for this team right now. Meanwhile, Brian Thomas Jr., who's supposed to be like wide receiver, like top 5 wide receiver in football, for some reason has broken himself this year, and him and Trevor Lawrence can't get on the same page. And Travis Hunter, this wide receiver 1 in the draft class, is hurt because he was playing both ways.
I wonder if it's going to be a discussion this offseason where they say, are we better off with Jacoby Myers? Say Travis Hunter's our 1, Jacoby Myers is our high-end possession 2, and Parker Washington, who I think his contract might be up now or close to it, is our 3. He's a beautiful 3. And we actually don't want the inconsistency of Brian Thomas Jr. in this mix here. Or you're just stacking all of them and saying BTJ, Travis Hunter, we'll still sign Myers, and we'll have Parker Washington, and we'll just be potentially loaded at receiver. So I think they've got some interesting decisions in Jacksonville there. But there's already some chemistry with Myers. Washington, not only a great big plays as a receiver when he's catching the ball, but as a punt returner. And Jags should win this game. But again, I think Cam Ward's showing enough. It was a fourth quarter comeback against Houston. There was some big time throws last week against Seattle. I know they were down a lot. I think Cam is creeping toward he's going to steal a win in one of these games the way he's playing. Cam Ward.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, absolutely. He's playing. They've been playing a lot of reasonably close games for a lot of the season, and if he can make a couple of those plays here or there, then absolutely they could sneak a win. How insane would it be, by the way, if Brian Thomas Jr. ends up becoming the next? His name's just dropped out of my head. The other former LSU wide receiver who I didn't like and looked great in year 1 and then disappeared.
DJ Chark.
Yes, DJ Chark, who didn't like him at all as a prospect, and then year 1 was amazing. And I was like, you're an idiot. Of course he's a spectacular player, and then his career just fell off a cliff from that moment on. He's probably not in the league anymore, or at least one of those guys that only exist in the league during training camp seasons. I'll be annoyed if Brian Thomas Jr. does that because I was completely turned around on him after his rookie year.
You apologized for your teams.
Right, after his rookie season, but it's trending that way at the moment.
Titans schedule really quick. Jags this week. They're at Cleveland next week. We might be looking at Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, the potential 1-2 picks going at it. Just a first rounder and a fifth rounder.
Dude, the number of people that Shedeur Sanders can make eat their words if he is in fact the next Tom Brady would be remarkable.
His workout partner, him and Cam Ward.
Yeah, but he can go and show that he should have been the number 1 overall
in Cleveland. We're going
quarterback.
to be talking Cam playing weather. They're at the Niners. They're home against the Chiefs. Then they got the Saints and then the Jags again. So I think one of those games, Cam Ward takes over, steals a win. But, it could be the Browns aren't great and the Saints aren't great. So, yeah, of course that could happen. I think they upset one of these winning teams.
Yeah.
Is it this week against the Jags?
I would assume not, but the Jags are one of those, because Trevor Lawrence is so wildly inconsistent, it's hard to ever fully buy into what they're doing. I think their defense is better. I think their run game is better. I think a lot of what they're doing is better. But if Lawrence has a couple plays that are rough, it's like that immediately invalidates all of that.
All right, Jags by 6.5. Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go with the Jags to cover that and win.
I concocted this picture in my head of Cam Ward.
Upset.
Give me Tennessee. 6.5. I'm taking a lot of dogs this week. I'm taking all the dogs this week against my nature. December football. Thanksgiving football. You take the dogs. Harry's taking the Jags. Arizona Cardinals at the Tampa Bay Bucs. Bucs favored by 3 here. Sunday at 1. You've got Baker Mayfield injury watch. Left shoulder injury. Think he's going to try to give it a go?
Oh, God. I hope he doesn't.
High school coach Teddy Bridgewater is the backup.
Yeah. I was assuming he was going to miss at least a week. I would be very concerned if they throw him back out there immediately with no rest whatsoever. Look, that shoulder thing is going to be a real thing to watch. If he plays, how encumbered is he with that shoulder? Does he protect himself at all? Does he stop scrambling? All these kinds of things. I mean, we have seen this movie already. Baker Mayfield playing with an injured shoulder on his non-throwing arm, and what happens? It didn't go well the last time. Meanwhile, you've got the feisty Cardinals and Jacoby Brissett throwing for 500, million yards, 55-plus dropbacks every week, making Michael Wilson into a top 10 wide receiver. Just Fascinating.
And Arizona's kind of set up to do that again. Remember on Sunday night, the Rams dominated the Bucs, and they at one point had called 28 or 29 passes and like 8 runs into the third quarter.
Yeah.
And so they chose, and this is kind of how the Bucs are built, right? They've always been, under Todd Bowles, pretty good against the run, heavy in the middle. They throw a lot, extra bodies in the box. And so the pass-heavy game script for Arizona, I think, probably continues this week against Tampa Bay. Don't even try to run into that front. Put their corners on islands and, Brissett handle the blitz and just read the matchup and get the ball to Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, and go from there.
Yeah.
And Greg Dortch.
Right.
Dortch.
There's
Dortch
a lot of
is
weapons.
that guy where good stuff generally happens when you throw to Greg Dortch.
Yeah, there's a lot of weaponry there in Arizona. So, I mean, on the one hand, it makes sense that this offense has caught fire a little bit. On the other hand, it is slightly surprising that it's Jacoby Brissett that's turned into a drop back 55 times a game type of player.
Bucs are still hanging by a thread when it comes to the NFC South. And, the story here is Carolina's playing the Rams. The Bucs are, they got that out of the way last week. Carolina's playing the Rams, and they've got some more challenging games. And the Bucs should have an easier schedule, but it's coinciding with their offense playing their worst football in a while. Baker has fallen off a cliff production-wise.
And he's now hurt.
And he's now hurt. Bucky Irving should be back this week. Now, he was injured, and then supposedly there was some sort of mental health questions about him not being ready or not handling the injury properly, or however you want to word that. But Bucky could be back. Sean Tucker runs the ball pretty well. Rashad White. So you might get this three-headed monster of the backfield. Bucky adds a lot to the pass game as well. He could be a huge key, if they get him back into the mix here against Arizona, especially if it's Teddy Bridgewater, where Teddy's game is not throw the ball down the field a ton, take care of the ball.
He's the classic, distributor.
Yes. And they don't have a lot to distribute to right now, but Emeka Egbuka, Cade Otton, and I'd say the backs out of the backfield, Rashad White and Bucky Irving.
And the great Tez Johnson.
Oh, and Tez. Yeah, sorry. Get the ball to Tez.
It's like Tampa Bay's schedule is not difficult at all looking at it, but so many of them are. So you got this game, obviously, and this is tough just because Baker's injured. So whether or not he's playing, he is injured. Then you've got 4 out of your 5 games are division opponents. So as much as on paper they're not the toughest games in the world, obviously it's a different thing. And then 2 of them are against the team that is legitimately potentially trying to steal the division from you. So honestly, even though this game, or even if the schedule looks relatively comfortable for Tampa Bay, I feel like the division will come down to those 2 games against the Panthers in weeks 16 and 18.
All right, man, let's make picks. Bucs by 3, Sunday at 1.
I'm going to go with the Cardinals. That Baker injury scares me. I've seen that film already. I think that's going to be tough if he doesn't play. I honestly think they're better. They have a better chance to win this game if he doesn't play.
Interesting. I'll take Arizona. You could flip it, too, if you want to do without. I'll take Arizona, and Harry's going to take the Bucs. And we're going to provide a quick roadside assistance for the Bucs in just a second here. Quick break to talk about our friends over at Root Insurance. Root Insurance believes that good drivers deserve better rates, so they've created a new kind of car insurance that rewards good drivers in an easy-to-use app. Traditional car insurance companies focus on demographics like age, zip code, occupation, and credit score to price your coverage. When Root offers a rate, your behavior behind the wheel gets more weight than any other single factor. They don't use occupation or education level to negatively affect your rate. While you drive, Root gathers and analyzes data from your smartphone's sensors, and after a few weeks, you'll get a car insurance quote based primarily on your driving. Save up to 44% off your initial Root quote after you take the test drive. If you need a tow truck, jump start, or you lock the keys in the car, Root will cover the help you need to get back on the road when you opt into roadside assistance. The Root app makes it easy to edit your coverage, update your policy, or file a claim in just 3 minutes. You can get started today at Root.com. And we're going to spend about 2 minutes to give today's roadside assistance to the Bucs, who are dealing with stumbling over the last couple weeks with Baker Mayfield, the Baker Mayfield injury. How should they overcome this, Sam?
Well, I think the first thing would be don't play him in the game, honestly.
Do you think give him another week?
Minimum. He's going to want to play. He is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield will try and gut it out. He tried to gut it out.
I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. But
he tried to gut it out in the game where he got hurt, right? Something happened. If it was on the scramble, something happened anyway. He felt the shoulder when he threw the touchdown to Tez Johnson. He went immediately to the blue tent. He went back out there. He played on. And then when he tried to throw the Hail Mary, his arm practically fell out of its own socket. And he was like, all right, now I'm done, right? He will try and play this game. I think you need to be sensible and say, our schedule is reasonably easy down the stretch. We need Baker Mayfield for week 16 and 18 against the Carolina Panthers. We don't really need him for this game, right? It would be nice, but it's more important to have him in those two games than it is to have him in this game. So I think you should be overly cautious and sit him down this week. Turn it over to Teddy. Let him handle things, distribute the ball, pass it, be game manager, and maximize the chances that Baker actually recovers from this.
It's a really good point that you bring up because that division will come down to those two Panthers games.
Yeah.
Even if you lose some other games, as long as you beat Carolina and don't lose every other game, you're probably going to be in the driver's seat. So doing what you can for week, was it 16 and 18?
Yeah.
That whole deal, 2 out of the last 3 weeks. That is a good point on that. And then I would say the other piece of advice is what I said about throwing your backs out of the backfield, trying to just get your playmakers in space and take a little pressure off of Emeka Egbuka, because it hasn't been the same since Mike Evans went down for the second time here. And now the league is, seeing what Egbuka can do. He's getting more attention, and it's feeding Tez Johnson, but really those backs out of the backfield get the run game going as well. So I'm with you. Let's get Baker healthy. Your roadside assistance for the Tampa Bay Bucs. All right, we got 5 games left in the Turkey Bowl. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota Vikings at the Seattle Seahawks. It's Sunday, 4:05. Seahawks favored by 10.5 here. The Seahawks are 8-3, going against the 4-7 Vikings. And J.J. McCarthy is now in concussion protocol. Symptoms after the game, one of those deals.
Yeah.
And so it looks like he's probably out this week, and Max Brosmer time.
Yeah, I don't think anybody has played this year the immediate game following being in the concussion protocol.
There was one, I believe.
Really? I thought it was over at this point. Anyway,
very likely. There was one, but most people are at least missing 1 week.
Correct. Very likely.
I think there was only one that came back in 1 week, actually, is what it was.
Yes.
A lot of Stroud's taken 4 weeks, and
right.
a lot of quarterbacks have taken more than one.
Yeah, I believe that's true. I don't think anybody has come back within the week, and that's what he would have to do. So, yeah, we are likely seeing Max Brosmer. Should probably learn his name if he's going to be starting the game.
One of these days. We'll see whatever they say on Sunday.
Against the Seattle Seahawks defense, which is formidable, dominant, complicated to diagnose from an offensive point of view, and, yeah, definitely going to cause some problems.
And, of course, the Sam Darnold revenge game on the other side.
Yeah.
For those who don't, we say revenge game for any player who used to play for a team. Doesn't mean that they literally have revenge in their eyes. But, the guys that said, we're going with JJ. We're not going to give you the big contract, Sam.
Yeah.
That's who he gets to play against here.
Look, there's going to be a lot of revisionist history, and this is an unfortunate narrative game for that from the Vikings' perspective. Like, they're going to be seeing the player that they had and that they could have had again, and decided to spurn in favor of J.J. McCarthy and go in a different direction. It's like, yeah, but I don't think you can look at the way that season ended last year and say this was obvious. Of course this is going to happen. Darnold is going to grade like the best quarterback in the NFL, and the guy that you drafted in the first round is going to play like garbage, and this is an idiotic decision. Like, Darnold imploded in those last 2 games in a way that is, I think, fairly unprecedented. I don't know if that's ever happened again in NFL history, where a guy has played that well for basically an entire season, and then right at the end in the 2 most important games, didn't just regress, but curled into a ball in a fetal position and cried. That's basically what Darnold did at the end of those 2 games.
So McCourty.
And I honestly think that changed their decision. I think they would have brought him back if he hadn't done that. But because he did, I think it was a fair call to say, let's fix the offensive line that was part of his implosion. Let's turn the keys over to the rookie, because Kevin O'Connell's been really good at this. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. Unfortunately for them, it hasn't worked out. In fact, it's been as bad as it could possibly have gone, and they're very likely to just get wrecked by Sam Darnold and his new team this week.
This is what I was looking for. Eric Galko from East West Shrine Game, just to give some context on Max Brosmer, who was the quarterback at the University of Minnesota via UNH. He was at the Shrine game last year, and Galco put out his impressive trio of QB metrics per Wilson, the football maker, tracking these metrics. They had release times and MPH and the whole thing. So he had a release time during Shrine Week of 0.4. NFL average is 0.45. So Chris, get him on the tracer. He had an average velocity of 50 miles an hour, with the NFL average being 44.8. An average of over 600 plus RPM, with the NFL average being 592. So he's at least an average NFL arm and release, or slightly better. And that's what you're going to see here.
Okay.
For whatever it's worth, I'm trying to bring something to the table here for what the backup Vikings quarterback is going to be showing this week.
So we're talking about somebody who has at least NFL physical tools. He's 6'2", 218-ish is his listed weight. So these are all NFL benchmarks.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's what is going up against the Seattle defense. Good luck.
Yes. That's the big problem. Like, on the one hand, if this was against basically any other defense in the NFL, you would say, look, it can't really be much worse than what J.J. McCarthy is doing right now, even though I agree with you, he isn't playing as badly as, like, this is the worst all-time production in the NFL that we've ever seen, right? Which is, some of the numbers are in that area, right? The worst thing we've ever seen was Jamarcus Russell playing football. The second worst thing we've ever seen is J.J. McCarthy.
That's the production numbers, the EPA numbers. Yes.
I don't think it's that bad. It is, however, bad. And I would say it's bad enough that there's a pretty healthy chance that Max Brosmer is probably an upgrade at this point, at least in a short sample size. Against Seattle's defense, though, I don't know if that's going to be the case. And a big thing is going to be, is that offensive line in any way healthy? Is Darisaw nursing an injury through the entire season, or is he back healthy in the lineup? Was that just a 1 week blip? That offensive line needs to do a good job this week, because they're going to want to try and run the ball. Presumably, they're not going to ask Brosmer to do that much. Max, Temu Paxton Lynch. It just feels like it's going to be a rough day for that offense.
Max will have some open receivers, I still think, though, even against Seattle.
Really?
Yeah. He'll have some opportunities here.
Okay.
It's still a good offense with good receivers. And we'll have, if he has a good game, we'll roll in Monday morning saying, oh, what does this mean? What does this mean for JJ? And let me just really quickly here. Some interesting discussions. Remember, Kevin O'Connell said, hey, organizations fail quarterbacks, right? Not the quarterback themselves. Mm-hmm. And my football analytics class that I do for SMWW, I had a great question last night. Somebody said, how long do you give quarterbacks to develop if you're a team? And I said, my answer, I think, is worth the show, bringing to the show. I said, my answer is like the team's number one goal isn't to maximize the development of the quarterback. That's not their goal. Their number one goal is to win. Now, maximizing the development of the young quarterback usually coincides with that goal. But like Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell have a decision to make at the end of the year here. We want to win. What's the best way to win? And so you have to stack J.J. McCarthy, Max, right next to the quarterbacks in the draft, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young as a reclamation project. Like, you're stacking all of these other options to maximize your wins for the Minnesota Vikings versus how much do we try to create this environment where J.J. McCarthy can develop. And so it's just an interesting discussion here. And if Max has a good game or two or a little run here, and then all of the evidence is mounting that everybody who works with Kevin O'Connell, Sam Darnold, Kirk Cousins, Josh Dobbs off the waiver wire, Max Brosmer, if they all do well except J.J. McCarthy, that's difficult. That's a difficult one, because it should be a decent offense, given the playmakers, the play caller, and everything that they have there.
Yeah, and they're also not, they're not necessarily aligned when it comes to how long into the future you're looking. Like, the best thing for a long-term success is your development of the young quarterback who can then lead you for the next 10, 15 years. The best thing to win next week might be something different, right? And that's the challenge. It
depends on the life cycle of the coach and the GM and this year, right? Like this coming year.
That's the challenge, I think, that the Vikings have right now, which is, based off how he's playing right now, it's very unlikely, I think, that J.J. McCarthy is the best chance they have to win games in any given week. But the best thing for the long-term success of the Minnesota Vikings is the guy they drafted in the first round is a good quarterback going forward. Now, maybe that gets more complicated if Max Brosmer shows something and he could become their Brock Purdy. But, again, I just don't think that's going to happen this week.
All right, man. Seattle by what? 10.5. Where are you going to go?
I think they roll, and this is the narrative game that the Vikings don't want.
I'm taking all the dogs. Minnesota as the underdog. Max makes some plays. And then you've got this Brian Flores versus Darnold dynamic. Flores is going to get him a couple times. A couple turnovers in there to keep it close enough. I'll take Minnesota to cover the 10.5.
Well, that's an interesting wrinkle, right? We haven't seen Darnold against Flores.
Yeah.
Because, same team and stuff.
And sometimes you say, oh, they saw each other in practice all the time. That's not really true.
Right.
Right? It's true in training camp.
Yes.
But during the season, you don't face Brian Flores' defense. You face the scout team, right? So they had a couple weeks of training camp where they faced each other, and I don't even know if that means anything. Harry texted me live on the air, and he's like, just so you know, I'm taking Seattle. In case I missed it in the app, taking Seattle. I think he heard about the backup QB thing, and he's like, in case I accidentally took Minnesota, don't let me do that. I took Seattle.
But theoretically, the stuff what the Rams did, the Flores does a lot of the things that if you're trying to distill what caused Sam Darnold to melt down where every time he plays the Rams, they're very different defenses, but Flores does a lot of the things that Chula in Los Angeles does to cause Darnold to implode.
Yes.
So if you were trying to, how can we replicate that? The Vikings have a lot of the pieces that could replicate that.
Agreed. So that's why I'm taking Minnesota to keep it close. Harry, as he informed me, watching live, he's taking Seattle like you are. Buffalo Bills at the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Sunday in the 4:25 window. Buffalo favored by 3.5 here. They're 7-4 going up against the 6-5 Steelers, who are no longer in first place in the NFC or the AFC North. Just a battle of wild card hopefuls here in the AFC.
Yeah. Steelers kind of need to stop the rot at this point now with Baltimore winning games and potentially going to win another one. And that's not an easy team to have to stop the rot against, Buffalo, even though they're coming off a pretty rough outing themselves. Like two teams that were in very good shape a couple of weeks ago, all of a sudden falling on relatively hard times and need a win.
So our friend Pony had a tweet here yesterday.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting because there was a lot. We were expecting Aaron Rodgers, maybe he missed last week with the wrist injury. Maybe he was going to come back for this week. Pony says, I've listened to Mike Tomlin spin for almost 20 years. He did not sound confident Aaron Rodgers will play Sunday. Plan accordingly. So this is me helping you plan accordingly. Pony, who's not the best at, predictions or,
as evidenced by his nipples,
predicting games or having a general feel for how good Steelers players are going to be. Kenny Pickett equals Joe Montana. He's not great at those things. I do trust him in interpreting Tomlinese. So I do believe the Tomlin spin theory that he's talking about. I believe Pony's got a good feel for that, right? He can't really predict Thursday night football games where he puts his nipples on the line. He can't predict the next great Steelers quarterback. He's not great at that. But he might, as he said, in 20 years have a good feel for Mike Tomlin and what he's spinning.
Yeah. I think there's a very real chance that is true. When you think about it, again, we've made this point, old people heal slower than young people. And it was kind of is it good enough to make this one thing work, right? And I think it's the run game, the handoffs, the stuff that you need to be able to do with your offhand. If it wasn't good enough last week for those things to be functional, it's probably not going to be good enough this week. At that point, you are treating it basically like a broken bone. And it's going to take, 3-4 weeks for this to heal. And that's back when you were young and, your circulation function and stuff, not old man. Like, this might take him a month.
So the other thing that Tomlin said this week is people asked him about playing spot drop cover 3 against four verts.
Yeah.
Wide open touchdown. And he just said, I didn't want to peel back the curtain or the pull back anything on our scheme decisions, but I appreciate the depth of the question.
In his defense, it's not like he knew it was 4 verticals before the ball was snapped.
Yeah, it's just like you didn't have an adjustment to trips or whatever, It it's kind of like an archaic play call. Like what happened schematically through the years, and the reason why Pete Carroll's Seattle cover 3 became prevalent is teams would attack with 4 verticals against cover 3, where you have 3 deep defenders, and it puts a bind on the defense, and you have multiple ways to play it, which aren't great. The way it used to be played is you would split one of the verticals with your corner,
right?
And you just split it, and you read the quarterback, and you might have to play the seam, or you might have to play the outside vertical, and then the Seattle cover 3 comes in, and they said, we'll have a carrier, right? We'll have somebody carry one of the inside verticals. Could be the curl flat defender, could be the hook curl defender, whatever it might be. And you almost never see that in today's NFL, where it's just this straight cover 3, and there's no one running with the 4th vertical. And for all the criticism that Pittsburgh's defensive scheme has come up against, they've got all this talent, highest price defense. They were supposed to be great. And then there's things like they're playing 10 yards off on 3rd and 5, and they're not running with the seam. Like, there are some schematic issues with what Pittsburgh's doing, and this has been, it's just they're like a little archaic in some of what they do, and I think some good offenses have been able to exploit that.
There's also a healthy chance that a linebacker was supposed to carry that and didn't, and that's why Tomlin doesn't want to throw anybody under the bus based off how they've played the game. Good
explanation.
I mean, who knows? But, I'm just saying I wouldn't necessarily pin it all on Tomlin.
I'm not. I know. I get it. No, that's a good point. That's good. I appreciate the counterpoint there. That's actually very true. And honestly, that goes back to what has been one of the major issues in Pittsburgh. It's linebackers saying,
yeah.
They're all linebackers, palm up, palm up. That's been the story of the
and not just
Pittsburgh linebackers. Who's at fault here?
And there's ones where they don't even shout at each other, but there's somebody clearly screwing up on a play as well. Like that's been a rough issue with that defense.
And then you get the Bills coming off their tough one against the Texans,
who are built to exploit linebackers going palm up. What the hell? Like, that's the only thing they can do at the moment on offense. Like, they are beat to do 2 things. They're to attack the Chiefs with their slow linebackers in the middle of the field who don't really cover that well, and to attack the Steelers who don't have slow linebackers, but they just have linebackers goofing on a constant basis in coverage.
So this feels like a get-right game for Buffalo, doesn't it?
I feel like a get-right. Well, yes, that side of the ball should have way more success against Pittsburgh's defense, unless their banged-up offensive line, just gets destroyed. Like, theoretically, I don't know what to make of Pittsburgh's pass rush, because it should be every bit as good as Houston's, talent-wise. Like, they have, man for man, I think Pittsburgh has as much talent as the Houston Texans do up front. So, in any given week, they should be able to do what the Texans did to Josh Allen last week. They just don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know why.
I'm not gonna quit the Bills being good. Now, there's evidence mounting that they're having some rough games out there. Their run defense has some issues, or the turnovers are an absolute issue. The fact that Allen just took 8 sacks last week against Houston, when that's been one of his superpowers over the last couple of years, those things are starting to become concerning. But I still think they're the Bills. I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think they are equipped to beat this Steelers defense in the middle of the field the way they are. If the offensive line, though, has the issues that they had the other night, and look, it was the O-line, it was Allen, Spencer Brown was trying to play injured. If he's banged up, TJ Watt is still good. He's not maybe what he was a year or 2 ago, but he can have some success there. So we'll keep an eye on that. I just think this is one of those favorable matchups for Buffalo, just like it had been over the last few years. Buffalo's offense has had a lot of success against Pittsburgh's defense, and it's one of those defenses, as I said, maybe hasn't changed a whole lot. The holes are still the holes, and I think Buffalo's going to be able to exploit them.
You would think. Yeah, I do think that there's too many flaws, whether or not it's schematic or just personnel goofing. There's too many flaws in this defense for Buffalo not to be able to have some success in attack. But you also need Josh Allen to, just rein it in a little bit, and let's not go full. There's a very fine line, I think, between like Superman Josh Allen and panic mode Josh Allen, where those things don't necessarily go well together.
Panic mode has popped up. Even in the Bucs game, it popped up,
yeah.
But so did Superman as well. But there's been more panic mode than you'd like to see from Allen. See if you can turn that around this week. All right. And if it's Mason Rudolph, look, they didn't attack the middle of the field at all either. They had some issues throwing the ball last week. I think Pittsburgh might be able to lean on the run. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell has some success against Buffalo, shorten the game a little bit. I think that's their best bet, whether it is Rodgers or Mason Rudolph here. Shorten it up, because I do think Buffalo's offense will get back on track here.
Yeah.
Buffalo by 3.5. Where are you going to go? Chat says might be some rain here in Pittsburgh, if that matters for you.
I am going to go with the Bills.
Same. Taking the Bills, as will Harry. Las Vegas Raiders at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers favored by 9.5 here. It's Sunday at 4:25. Over under 41.5. Vegas has now fired Chip Kelly, as we reported / just conveyed the information that had already been reported. On Monday morning, Chip Kelly out as offensive coordinator here for the Raiders.
Isn't that just reporting? We're just conveying information.
I confirmed with sources, which happen to be on Twitter.
Did we, were we the original source of the information? No. But did we just convey it like every other journalist?
We reported it.
Yeah.
And so we're further confirming Chip Kelly's out as offensive coordinator in Vegas.
Fact.
Office cleaned out.
You could text him, find out.
We are on texting terms.
Chip, is it true you're fired?
I text 100% more of the time in winning weeks.
Yeah.
To my friends and colleagues around the industry when I'm like afraid to text on losses. I'm like, they must be miserable, and even though they're all professionals. You get back to work the next day.
We could text them and find out if it's as good a time as it feels like it should be.
Chip, how good's that buyout? How good's that buyout feel?
Is it actually?
Are you going to go buy an island and relax, or are you going to get back into coaching?
Like if one of us got fired, it would be a bad thing generally.
Oh yeah, it'd be bad. I got to figure out how do I take care of my family.
But if you get fired and you're getting that kind of $1 million buyout, multi-million dollar buyout, are you actually like, oh, this is awesome?
Congrats.
Yeah,
you send congrats.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, I don't think firing Chip Kelly.
Should I text congrats on the buyout?
100%. I don't think
I will not.
Firing Chip Kelly necessarily is fixing anything for this Raiders team. The offensive line, I don't know if it can be fixed. It's one of the worst personnel groups in the NFL based off the current 5 that they have out there because of injuries.
You don't think Pete Carroll's kid's going to figure it out?
I don't think Pete Carroll's son is going to have the solution down the stretch for this Vegas offensive line. And as long as that Vegas offensive line remains this bad, you're probably going to get a pretty rough outing from Geno Smith. You're probably going to get nowhere to go for Ashton Genty on a weekly basis. So the offense is going to suck. Like, there's no way out of that. So then it just becomes the other side of the ball. Can they do enough on their side to cause Justin Herbert and the Chargers to have some problems?
Yeah. And look, there's still offensive line issues with the Chargers. I think those really have a chance to pop up in some of their big games down the stretch. I don't see it happening as much in this one. Next week, so Raiders this week for the Chargers. Then they have the Eagles and Chiefs back-to-back weeks. So Eagles, their defensive front on Monday Night Football, and then the Chiefs rematch from week 1. 2 teams battling for wild card, division, the whole deal. It's a stretch here. They got the Texans the second to last week and the Broncos. So I'd say, and the Cowboys are in there too with their improved front. After this Raiders game, I would say the Chargers have some serious defensive line concerns in at least 4 out of their next 5 games.
Yeah.
And however you want to, put Quinnen Williams and the Cowboys front in there. So this should be the easiest matchup the Chargers face. And then it's like, all right, if they come out of this 8-4, they could be looking at a 9-8 season, 10-7 season. It's going to be a challenge, I think, for the Chargers coming out of this.
And even in this game, you've got to deal with Max Crosby.
Oh, of course. So it's not great.
Yeah.
But Chargers are a better team. Herbert's had games this year where he's looked like Superman and overcome it. A few weeks back against Jacksonville, he looked awful. It's a lot of pressure on him, I think, given the circumstances. But they have the pass catchers too, and I think that's the other advantage that they have with Ladd, with Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen. They should have some answers. Amarian Hampton also is back practicing. He's got his 21-day practice window, and I do think that's the one thing. Even though the Chargers' O-line isn't great, they're probably a little better run blocking than pass blocking, and so you can maybe get something going, lean on Amarian Hampton once he's back and healthy over these next couple of weeks, and he brings an explosive element to that run game.
And even independent of that, the backups have gotten banged up as well, so they kind of need him back.
So it's about that. I mean, as far as the Raiders go, like, what do you want to see with Chip out down the stretch here?
I honestly, I don't know that you can see anything. I think they're terminal. The problems are just, they're not fixable, I don't think. Like, that offensive line, it's not getting better. I don't know that you can do much to the passing game to offset that. Geno Smith is what he is at this point, and he's not a quarterback that's going to fix the terrible offensive line the way they are. I just think this is going to be an ugly back end of the season for the Raiders.
I just wonder how extreme it gets if you just get to, like, let's get under center a lot more. Let's just run Genty into the ground and see if we can get any kind of rhythm going, even though on paper it's not great.
Yeah.
Once Genty gets to the second level, like he popped, was it Delpit? Or no, Ronnie Hickman just like tossed him to the floor 8 yards down the field a couple weeks ago. I mean, when he gets to the second level, he does look special. It's just he's contacted at or behind the line of scrimmage so often. So I'd be interested to see. I want to see how much they can lean on Ashton Genty, Brock Bowers, and get their playmakers the ball here these next few weeks. All right, let's make a pick. Chargers by 9.5 here.
Chargers to win by double digits.
Taking the dogs again. It's underdog week for me. If this doesn't work, I don't know what to tell you. But I'm going to say the Raiders, new OC bump for the Raiders, and they keep it within 9.5.
All right.
Harry's going to take the Chargers. Sunday Night Football, Denver Broncos at the Washington Commanders. A little Super Bowl rematch from '86. Sunday night, Broncos favored by just 6.5 here. I'm surprised by that number.
Yeah.
Broncos at 9-2 coming off their bye against the 3-8 Washington Commanders.
Yeah, I mean,
Looks like Mariota starting again, by the way. Jaden Daniels recovering well from the dislocated elbow. Think he's going to come back, supposedly, but not yet.
like, is that just a total indictment of the Denver offense? Like, regardless of how good their defense is, regardless of the fact that Washington isn't that good, they just don't really think that Denver's capable of putting up a ton of points?
Yeah, I mean, Denver's coming off of, I would say, one of their best offensive performances against the Chiefs, given the circumstances, given the third down success and the game-winning drive by the Broncos, and they score 23. That was one of their better performances given the circumstances. I mean, yeah, I think it's the fact that they didn't have. It's not like they tore it up against the Jets or some of the other teams where they were against the Raiders for 3 quarters until they really needed to. There's just been inconsistency with the Broncos offense.
Yeah, there has. And even though they're coming off, like, as you said, a much improved performance, we've got to see it consistently. We've got to see it again. I mean, this is the type of defense they should be able to go nuts against. Like, if you can't have just an efficient, productive, fairly good outing against Washington's defense, when is it going to happen?
Sorry, this is a Super Bowl rematch from...
I got the year wrong? Look at you.
Yeah, 86 was Giants-Broncos. This was the Super Bowl one year, right? 87?
Denver is,
Elway lost to the Giants, Washington, the Niners, and then he won the 2 against the Falcons and the Packers.
I'm going to have to go look.
It was 87.
You're annoying.
Strike year. 87.
Strike year.
It was 87. Then the Niners won in 88 and 89.
Imagine a strike year happening in today's social media world.
No, I can't. It was 87. My apologies.
87, the January the 30th, 88 is Washington stomping. Yeah, it's the 42-10 destruction.
Yeah. My biggest pet peeve is when people put the Super Bowl in the actual year that it was played, not the season. So this is the 87 season. I apologize. 87. Rematch from the 87 Super Bowl. And that's why it didn't get flexed out. There's history here.
Yeah, that's why.
People wanted it flexed out.
Because all these people are sitting here going, was that 87? Yeah.
What else about this game? I think if the Broncos offense is going to... My son is fact-checking. He's saying 88 because he asked...
He's reading. Same thing.
No, he asked Alexa.
Yeah.
And Alexa said it happened in 88. No,
31st
Harry.
of January,
listen,
1988.
The 87 season, the Super Bowl happened at 88. Harry, you do not listen to what Alexa says. She doesn't understand context. Thank you. It was the 87 season. Mm-hmm. Super Bowl happened in 88. We get it. We understand.
Yeah.
I was 5 at that time. Big one for the Broncos offense, right? Prove that you could beat up a bad defense.
Well, they need to. Yeah, like if you're not going to do it against this type of defense, when is it ever going to happen? So I think they need to go out there and show. Because look, This is a team vying for the number 1 seed. They want to, show that they're not just a contender, but like this is a Super Bowl favorite. I mean, they're nobody's Super Bowl favorite because nobody has confidence in that offense, apparently including the man in Vegas. So I think they need a game to go out there against a team where they should be able to go nuts against and just stomp them.
So they're going to go stomp them, I think.
That's what they need.
Just a battle of former Oregon legends, Bo Nix and Marcus Mariota here.
Yeah.
It's a Ducks matchup with Ducks.
Does Bo therefore defer to his senior,
They're about the same age, actually.
Yeah, but that's the guy that went before.
Okay, yeah. Maybe. -6.5, disrespectful to Bo Nix.
Straight disrespect.
Broncos defense, man, there's just a lot there. But Nick Bonito against Laramie Tunsil, fun little one-on-one matchup to see.
Yeah.
What else to watch for in this game?
I wonder if Marcus Mariota's rushing ability helps them sort of maybe try and offset the pass rush from Denver a little bit. Like that's the scariest element of that defense. I mean, obviously it's good pretty much everywhere, but if you can run the ball better against them, maybe use the quarterback to do that, that might do some of that.
Yeah, the run game's been okay. Chris Rodriguez, Bill, they might be able to slow this game down and shorten it a little bit if you're Washington and try to avoid those 3rd and longs. So I think that's the goal here if you're Washington, and then looking for young players that are part of, it's not really a rebuild, but a get back on track year next year for a team that's went for it and they're sitting here at 3-8 with their starting quarterback injured in week 13. I got nothing else on this one.
Just the Patrick Surtain return thing is seeming a little bit murky. They're not too definitive on a timeline for when that's going to happen. Remember, he's dealing with a pectoral strain. Pectorals always seem like one of those weird injuries that tend to either shut a guy down immediately or linger.
Well, it's an interesting schedule here. You get the Commanders who have 3 wins. You get the Raiders next week for Denver here. Packers come to town December 14th. Then you have the Jags. And then you have Christmas night at the Chiefs. So that's still going to be a huge game. Broncos in week 18. I mean, it's kind of like the Bucs and the Panthers if you're just trying to plot out the Broncos schedule. I don't think they're going to have everything clinched by Christmas. I think the Chiefs are still going to be lurking and the Chargers have a chance to lurk.
Right.
If you're looking for when you really need Surtain, it's the Chiefs and the Chargers, those last couple games. So they might be able to slow play him at least the next couple weeks with the Commanders and Raiders here.
Yep.
All right, make a pick. Broncos by 6.5.
I'm going to go with Denver to win and cover.
Same. Taking the Broncos. I think they're off. I think we're going to see a good Bo game here. The Bo Leavers are going to love it on Sunday Night Football.
With no overthrows.
No overthrows. Denver's also going to be Harry's pick here on Sunday night. And then Monday Night Football, another Super Bowl rematch. New York Giants at the New England Patriots. The 2-10 Giants at the 10-2 Patriots. Probably a return for Jackson Dart here, coming off of his concussion. Missed the last 2 weeks.
Drake May to do what Tom Brady never could and get his revenge for the Eli Manning.
I don't even think Brady beat him. No, he beat him in the regular season in the 17-0, 16-0
Yeah, they definitely beat them.
But
right.
He lost a regular season game in 2011 too, as he lost to Eli.
He didn't have a good record against. Something. Yeah.
Can Drake May do it? Get revenge for Tom Brady. Patriots favored by 7.5 here at home. Once again, primetime Gillette bumping here.
Yeah.
Primetime game. A lot of excitement in New England.
A lot of excitement. They're going to be without Will Campbell, their rookie left tackle. He's going to be missing probably 4 games, I think people said. So, number one, that's not good. Number two, against the Giants' defensive line that definitely has horses to cause that, to expose that as a problem. That alone would make me think about this as just an easy, comfortable win for New England. Like, all of a sudden, you've got what could be a problem in isolation going up against what has a defensive line that definitely has the capacity to turn it into a problem. That's another, this season of just hurdles for Drake May and the Patriots. I mean, that's another one they haven't had to get over before. Can Drake May continue this insane MVP caliber type of play for most of the year without a left tackle now?
And left guard,
right?
Jared Wilson. So Vidarian Lowe probably stepping in at left tackle here. That is an issue, absolutely, with Brian Burns and Abdul Carter on the other side, Dexter Lawrence. We'll see if they can actually take advantage. And I'll say this. I mean, Jameis was fun to watch the last couple weeks. the Giants have been losing games despite what I would say is good quarterback play, which is
for a while.
It's an indictment on that team and the roster, and Shane Bowen just got fired as defensive coordinator, so maybe they get their new DC bump and play better on that side. But yeah, Jameis has had a couple mistakes the last couple weeks, but he's created so many explosive plays and made key third downs, and so did Dart, right? Dart really elevated that offense for a while. So the quarterback play for the Giants actually hasn't been the problem.
No.
It has been the defense collapsing and maybe just being depleted enough on the offensive side of the ball. But I think they'll be able to compete in this one, whether it is Dart or if Jameis still had to play again.
Are they up to 5 games now that they've lost, having had a double-digit lead at some point in the game? I think that was the stat
they did
right?
against Detroit and in the fourth quarter too.
Right.
Right.
That's the thing. So they
maybe that defense has been in it.
Maybe that's it. It's 5. I think 5 defeats with a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter, I think, is the stat.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
It's rough.
Particularly for a team that has a defensive line that we're talking about with like pass rushers that can cause problems. I mean, you tell a team they've got a double-digit lead in the fourth quarter with a front 4 that can rush the passer.
Right.
You're like, well, that should be automatically a win, and yet they've found a way of losing 5 of those games.
That should be how you draw it up, right? I think it's a fun, even though it's a 2-10 versus 10-2 teams.
Yeah.
If we're being fair and honest here, New England's had a pretty easy schedule.
Yes.
The Giants have had a really rough schedule. And I think where it becomes fun is if Dart plays, and he's been, I think, again, elevating this offense that has been awful for about 3 years now. And Drake May's on this MVP type of campaign and played great. So I think it's a fun Monday night game where the two teams are closer than their records would appear. And if the Giants just get out of their own way in the fourth quarter and win a couple of those games, they look a little bit better, right? So, look, I don't love the Giants as a team, and I think New England's absolutely moving in the right direction and moving toward the number 1 seed. But I think we see a pretty competitive game here.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect New England to win, but I think there's definitely a bunch of ways that the Giants could keep this close. If Jackson Dart comes back, we also get to see the first evidence of what do they do to protect him more, right? Do they completely take away all of the runs, the designed runs for Jackson Dart? Even if they do that, can Jackson Dart stop himself from suicidal scrambling and launching himself into linebackers and stuff? Like, how much of this was, there were people out there putting tweets like Brian Daboll was like sacrificing the health of Jackson Dart just to save his job. Like, how much of that is even true, and how much of that is this is just the way Jackson Dart plays the game, and you're not going to take that away from him? Or is Mike Kafka willing to run him, even though the man's had 2 concussions now and been evaluated 4 times for concussions?
This is the Patriots have a bye next week coming off of the Monday game. So one of the latest bye that you can have. And then they have the Bills coming out of that and the Ravens. Not that it's even like a look-ahead spot or anything, but clearly Buffalo and Baltimore are the 2 games that are, for us as fans and analysts, the 2 games where we say, hey, what do we know about New England? Let's see them beat the good teams, continue to beat the good teams. They should take care of business against the Giants, but again, I think this has a chance to be competitive. The Giants' run defense has been awful. We just saw Jahmyr Gibbs run for 219. Does Travion Henderson get to the second level the same way Jahmyr Gibbs did and create some big plays? New England's not great on the ground, but we've seen a few of those plays, right? The Bucs game where Travion had the 2 long touchdowns. I think that's something else to keep an eye on as well, and look at how much does New England lean on the run game given how bad the Giants have been in that area.
Yeah. I think, whether Travion Henderson can have a couple of those Gibbs plays where it's well blocked and then once you get him to the second level, he's just gone, that could be a big differentiator in the game.
Love your point, though, that we've said a few times here, like what if Dart's back, like how do they use him here?
Yeah.
I think that's a huge storyline.
I mean, the 2 prongs, how do they use him and does he change anything?
Does he change anything? Absolutely. But I would spend all my time developing him as a passer, even though I say, hey, Cam Ward, run a little bit more. I want to see Dart win from the pocket on time too. Like, I don't want to see this 3.3 time to throw in the pocket. I just win on the time in the pocket, stay healthy for next year, and then get him some playmakers. All right, New England by 7.5 here. It's Monday Night Football. Where are you going to go with this one?
Patriots to win, Giants to cover.
Yeah, I've talked myself into the Giants here. To cover, Patriots to win. It's dog week. It's dog week, baby. All the underdogs except for Denver, Buffalo, and is that it? Literally it. in Atlanta.
That's the type of week you need
in
if
Miami.
you're going to come back
Atlanta,
from where you are in the picks.
It's dog week. Taking all the dogs.
Which is like tied for, 300th or whatever.
And we got one more special pick. Today is the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. As we speak right now, the North Reading Hornets, they're probably at their pep rally, getting ready. It's pep rally day. You have a half day. You go to the Hornets Nest after. You go to the Hornets Nest for a sub, get a little steak and cheese.
Is there, obviously it sounds ridiculous in a North Reading accent to say Hornets. Is there a word that doesn't sound ridiculous? Like, could they have had a mascot where they just say it normally?
North Reading Hornets?
Yeah.
No.
Like, is there anything they could say that wouldn't sound silly?
No.
Go
Bears.
Hornets. Like, is there any mascot they could have had that wouldn't sound
something without Oz probably?
Oz
would have sounded better.
Got it.
But I just went, give me a large regular at Dunks. I just went right back into it. It's North Reading and Lynnfield. So for those who don't know, I don't know how prevalent this is in the Northeast or across the country. But
I would imagine not very.
In Massachusetts, every high school team plays their rival on Thanksgiving. They do Thanksgiving morning, 10 a.m., 11 a.m., whatever it is. But this is Thanksgiving, tomorrow, 10 a.m. My high school, North Reading, sitting at 9-2. I think we already lost our playoff game somehow, and then you're playing the regular season. I don't know how it works. They're 9-2 facing the Lynnfield Pioneers. Pioneers. 3-7.
Okay.
And I set the line at 10.5 for North Reading. We're going to go 10.5. Hornets favored. The Turkey Bowl.
Okay.
So
you set
picks.
the line at 10.5.
We'll say I got the line. I got the line.
Okay.
I got my sources.
That's different.
We got it.
I don't trust your line.
We got the sources. Because
Well,
9-2 against 3-7, it's in Lynnfield, if that matters.
Okay. On the road.
I think COVID threw this off a little bit. What are we in an odd year? Odd years usually used to be we would be at home in odd years, but they missed a year and they flipped, and now all of a sudden odd years we're on the road. Lynnfield, I believe they probably have a turf field. They're all rich, the Lynnfield kids, rich kids. They probably have a turf field.
Yeah.
I should have called my dad for the weather report. My dad's got the. Should I call my dad?
Now, live.
What's the weather tomorrow?
It's only a 3-hour show. Why not? Is it going to rain on tomorrow?
Let's see. No, I'm not really going to do that. But knowing the history, it's probably in the 40s.
Okay.
40s.
Yeah.
So you get your dunks, try to stay warm, watch a little high school football. Hornets, Pioneers. Where you going?
I'm not going to overthink it too much. I think a team that's 9-2 is going to beat the team that's 3-7, and they're probably going to do it by more than 10 points.
Look at you. Taking North. You usually go against my high school.
Yeah. Well, look, you are what your record says you are.
In high school, you are.
Yeah.
In high school, you absolutely are. I'm taking North Reading, of course. And, all right, hey, go on. Let's see if the weather changes anything. Calling Dad.
You're calling the old man.
Well, the producer told me to. I got to listen.
Okay. Hope he doesn't answer. Just sends you to call waiting.
Let's see if he's working right now. He probably bounced out of work early here today on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Is he messing with the tree yet? Tree go up? Which is great television.
No, he's not answering me.
Yeah, see?
He's going to call me
straight to voicemail. I'm not interested.
Ridiculous, Dad. So I have no idea. We can't check the weather.
Can't judge the weather at all.
Just having some fun here, though. Rich kids from Lynnfield. They're going down tomorrow. North Reading's a rich town now, too. But growing up, there was a time they were like...
You were the poor side of the tracks?
They were a tick above.
Okay.
And now North Reading, it's caught up.
Gentrified.
It's not exactly that, but went from middle to upper class pretty quickly, I'd say, in North Reading. All right, just having some fun here. Everybody enjoy your Thanksgiving. Everybody's begging me to get speakerphone. My dad's accent, my fake Boston accent. Mine's fake. I used to have it.
He's got the real one.
I suppressed it.
Yeah.
My dad can't fake it. It is real. It is. It's kind of like when Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they go back and they act with the Boston accent. It feels like guys who used to have one that lost it so they could act.
Yeah.
And it's fake. It
sounds.
That's how I am.
Yeah, you could have been in Good Will Hunting.
I could have been. Carmine Sparpaglio, whatever his name is. Yeah, that's right. I'm not going to be home for Christmas this year, so I won't be able to have Dad on the show with the tree and the whole thing. But anyway, someone asked what you're thankful for. If you want to, what are you thankful for this year? Wrap up the Thanksgiving show here, Sam, as we hit the 3-hour mark.
Well, this is kind of new, right? I mean, we just started this last year, but it's worked. Now we have a studio. Now we're still doing this. We're still in business, still making this thing work. So, all the listeners, all the viewers, the fact that we have actually been able to make this work.
Yeah, it is. It's been a wild run. So I'm with you. Thankful we're up closing on 70,000 just YouTube subscribers. We've had a great group of people in podcast land still listening and joining us in the last year plus. So yeah, thankful for everybody that everybody has just joined us with the new show in the last year, and family, friends, and the whole thing, all the usual stuff, but more specifically to everybody here. Thankful that we're able to do this, and that we actually do have a place to do it.
Yep.
And for Hagel and Serio and everybody that works with us here.
An old prison that whistles in the wind.
Yeah. Can people hear the whistling?
Hopefully not. I mean, the train, whistle,
And then finally, what's on the menu tomorrow for you?
We're doing a chicken.
Chicken.
It's basically a turkey meal, but substituting a turkey for a chicken because there's only 3 of us as opposed to, it doesn't make any sense to do a whole turkey.
Yeah,
Plus, chicken is objectively better than turkey. So.
Oh boy, spatchcocked?
Yes.
Spatchcocked chicken. That's your go-to. I'm going no turkey for the first time I think ever.
Wow.
Because we're laying low, just family, just me and the kids, and they're not going to eat turkey. Got a ham.
Because it sucks.
We went ham this week.
Ham.
This year.
Okay.
So we already had a Friendsgiving a couple weeks ago. So
How are you doing it? What are you doing to the ham?
Straight up spiral ham. I don't know. Simple, in the oven.
Just the oven.
Yeah. We put like ginger ale on it or something. What do you do?
Ginger ale.
Whatever Kelly decides. Laying low.
All right.
Tomorrow. But everybody enjoy. Drop your menu in the chat here tomorrow, or wherever you are. Drop your chat. Drop your stuff. We're out of here. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. No show tomorrow. You never know when we could go live. So hit subscribe and enjoy your Thanksgiving. And we'll see you again Sunday night after the 4 o'clock games, and then Monday morning with our Week 13 NFL review.